Chapter 281. Looting and Treasure Hunting. What's going on? The sudden attack took everyone by surprise. No one could see where the strong energy had come from. The Zheng family master was looking at the large hole in his own chest, his face showing a look of terror. Only the city lord and a few other innate realm martial artists promptly turned their heads to look in a certain direction. From atop a tree 100 meters away, a figure stood proudly, holding a longbow in hand. Who else could it be but Lu Qing? "Sir, what is the meaning of this?" the cultured elder said in a deep voice. "When I cut down that old lady Zheng, I said I would destroy her eldest son's grave, to ensure his spirit can never find peace. How about it? Do you have an objection?" Lu Qing spoke indifferently. The cultured elder's expression faltered, but he didn't know how to respond right away. Seeing that he didn't dare to reply, Lu Qing felt somewhat disdainful. Then he turned toward the city lord. "City lord, the evidence is irrefutable now. The Zheng family has lost all humanity, performing such a cruel act as a living human sacrifice. Surely you know what needs to be done." "Of course, I am aware," the city lord nodded. "Good. I hope that you will handle this impartially and punish the Zheng family severely. Otherwise, I cannot say whom my arrow will target next." After saying this, Lu Qing leaped down from the treetop and disappeared from sight. From beginning to end, he hadn't even mentioned the Zheng family master, as if in his eyes, the man was nothing more than an insect that could be squashed at will, not worth a mention. Watching Lu Qing disappear, the city lord and the others didn't move, letting him leave. But in their hearts they were all secretly shocked. Before Lu Qing had made his move, none of them had detected when he had followed them. It was as if their innate sense was nothing more than decoration in his presence, completely useless. Such strange and unpredictable methods, coupled with the great combat strength Lu Qing had previously demonstrated, made the innate realm experts increase their wariness of Lu Qing once again. And this scene, witnessed by the leading figures of the other major family powers, caused a huge stir. They hadn't expected that someone would dare to kill in front of innate realm experts, and even mock and threaten them publicly. What was more important was that the city lord and the others, rather than becoming angered, even showed a hint of fear. Who on earth was this young man, to have such a deterrent effect? And it seemed that the Zheng family's ancestor had been killed by him as well. In a moment, a great wave stirred in the hearts of the leading figures of the major families. "City lord, what should we do next?" the man with a face like white jade asked after glancing at the Zheng family master, who had already breathed his last. "What else can we do but carry out justice as usual?" the city lord said as if nothing had happened. The man with a face like white jade felt a surge of joy, knowing that the Zheng family was thoroughly finished. The crime of human sacrifice was too serious. Now that both the old lady and the family master were dead, not to mention State Mansion City, even the whole Tsang state would no longer have a place for the Zheng family. Upon hearing the city lord's words, many of the leaders from other families showed a curious expression, presumably each deep in thought. In State Mansion City, Lu Qing was moving quickly. After destroying the grave of Zheng family's eldest son and killing the Zheng family master, he had not lingered there any longer. He immediately activated an earth element talisman and left the Zheng family's graveyard, sneaking back into State Mansion City. He didn't need to guess to know what would happen to the Zheng family. The fate of the Zheng family had actually been sealed the moment he had killed old lady Zheng. Not to mention the fact that they had been publicly exposed for blatantly violating the prohibitions of the Holy Mountain and the royal capital. Now, without the support of an innate realm backer or the big picture, State Mansion City was prosperous, but at the same time, the situation was extremely complex, with many powers and jackals everywhere, competition fierce and cruel. The Zheng family right now was like a large slice of fat meat. It was destined to be devoured clean by the powers within the city. But Lu Qing did not wish for others to partake in the fattest bite of this feast. Soon, Lu Qing entered Zheng Mansion. At that time, Zheng Mansion was in turmoil. News of the ancestor's death had spread throughout the mansion. Although the guard servants in the mansion both feared and respected the ancestor, it was undeniable that the ancestor was the sky of the Zheng family. As long as she was there, the Zheng family remained one of the strongest families in State Mansion City. Everyone had to show them some respect. Now that the ancestor was dead, the sky of the Zheng family had fallen, and the family master was also taken by the city lord to open the graves. How could they not be panicked? If it weren't for the Zheng family's strict rules and severe punishment, the entire place would have been in chaos by now. Lu Qing sensed this atmosphere of panic, but he didn't care. Turning on his superpower, he began to search through the mansion. Concealed under the divine soul talisman, and with his powerful strength, Lu Qing roamed freely inside Zheng Mansion without anyone detecting him. Before long, he found what he was looking for. Casually flicking out 2 steel needles, he disposed of 2 guards at the door. Then Lu Qing drew his saber, sliced through the lock, pushed the door open, and entered. As expected of a distinguished family, their foundation is deep, and this storeroom's collection is indeed abundant. Stepping into the storeroom, Lu Qing looked at the fully stocked shelves and couldn't help but admire the sight of red light, occasionally punctuated by streaks of gold. He walked forward slowly. A light screen appeared in his hand. He swept it forward, and with a flow of thought, the items in the storeroom were quickly stowed away into his Chenkuan Qi bag. Chapter 282. Time was running out, and the elegant elderly scholars would likely return to the city before long. Lu Qing didn't have enough time to use his superpower to identify each treasure in the storage room, so he simply collected them all. After all, the space inside the Chenkuan Qi bag was vast, so he wasn't worried about running out of space. Soon after, Lu Qing had completely looted the vast storage room. It was all thanks to his robust divine soul power. Otherwise, a regular person in the innate realm, even with a Chenkuan Qi bag, would probably be unable to take so many items away. After all, activating the Chenkuan Qi bag to store items also consumed a certain amount of divine soul power. After looting the storage room, Lu Qing found something strange. Although there were many treasures in the storage room, their quality and level were still lacking. He had briefly looked over them, and the highest quality he saw was only a red light mixed with a sliver of golden superpower light. Logically speaking, for a family like the Zheng family with centuries of heritage, there should be some more impressive treasures. It seems that the Zheng family must have an even more hidden treasure trove. Lu Qing stroked his chin and muttered to himself. He had just stepped out of the storage room when he suddenly heard a fierce shout. "Who are you, daring to trespass into the storeroom?" Lu Qing looked up to see a middle-aged beautiful woman, with her eyebrows turned upside down and her face full of evil qi, staring at him, accompanied by 2 guards and a green-clothed nanny. Seeing the information appearing above the middle-aged beautiful woman, Lu Qing's eyes lit up. "You've come just at the right time. I was worried about not having someone to show me the way." When the middle-aged woman met Lu Qing's gaze, she felt an inexplicable chill rise in her heart. Before she had a chance to do anything, the green-clothed nanny had already stepped in front of her with a solemn face. "Madam, be careful. This man is no ordinary person." The 2 guards also drew their swords, for they had seen the 2 colleagues lying at the entrance of the storage room. However, as soon as their swords were drawn, they felt a sharp pain in their chests, and their strength drained away like water, causing them to collapse to the ground. Lu Qing casually disposed of the 2 guards, and in the next instant, he was already in front of the middle-aged woman, reaching out to grab her. The green-clothed nanny was startled. She hadn't expected Lu Qing to be so strong that the 2 guards in the internal organ realm couldn't stop him at all. Feeling the oppressive force emanating from Lu Qing, the green-clothed nanny dared not hold back the slightest bit. A cold breath emerged as she shook her wrist sharply, and a flash of silver light suddenly shot out from her sleeve toward Lu Qing's throat at a rapid pace. Soft sword? Grandmaster-level swordsmanship? Lu Qing was somewhat surprised. He hadn't expected this nanny, with weak qi blood and merely at the internal organ's small success realm, to possess such swordsmanship. However, with his current strength, even Grandmaster-level swordsmanship was completely inadequate in front of him. With a flick of his finger, he deflected the soft sword aimed at his throat. and then his 5 fingers clenched where his right hand, originally grabbing at the middle-aged woman, formed a fist seal, erupting with chi blood, and he threw out a fierce and unmatched punch. Boom! Before Lu Qing's fist intent infused boxing, the green-clothed nanny stood no chance, was instantly hit in the chest by the punch, thrown back, and slammed into a giant pillar. Her chest collapsed, her gaze became vacant, and it was clear she was not going to survive. Although your swordsmanship is not bad, the aura about you also makes me quite unhappy. Lu Qing spoke indifferently after hitting the green-clothed nanny so hard that she exhaled without inhaling. Even without using his superpower to probe, he knew the old nanny must have been stained with many lives, and moreover, involved in deaths wrought by torture. His gaze lingered on her corpse for a few moments, and he discovered that this green-clothed nanny had been the personal maid who followed old Lady Zhang for many years, and she had played a role in that horrifying case of human sacrifice years ago. Indeed, they are a nest of snakes and rats. This Zhang family is truly rotten to the core. Lu Qing looked toward the middle-aged woman, and the latter, who was already trembling with fear, gave a jolt and instantly knelt down. "Mercy, good sir. Please don't kill me, don't kill me." Her voice was plaintive, looking very pitiful indeed. "Lady Zhang, is it?" Lu Qing's voice was indifferent. "If you want to live, take me to your Zhang family's treasure vault. If I find the contents satisfactory enough, I might spare your life." The middle-aged beauty had wanted to argue that this was the only treasure vault the Zhang family had. But when she looked into Lu Qing's indifferent eyes, which seemed as if they could peer right through a person's heart, a chill surged in her heart, and she dared not play any more tricks. "Brave sir, I only know of one other treasure vault in the mansion, which might be where our ancestor lived. Beyond that, I truly know no more. I fear the green-clothed nanny might know more than I do." The green-clothed nanny, naturally, was the old nanny who Lu Qing had just killed. However, Lu Qing did not regret it. A maid who had served that old lady for so many years would surely be both deeply cunning and utterly loyal. Even if she were willing to guide him, who knew whether or not to trust her guidance? Keeping her alive might have led to his own downfall. With a flick of his wrist, Lu Qing shoved an elixir into the middle-aged woman's mouth and quickly pressed a point on her throat, forcing her to swallow it. Under the middle-aged beauty's horrified gaze, Lu Qing said indifferently, "The poison I just administered is my unique concoction. Without the antidote in 2 hours, you'll inevitably die in agony as your intestines rupture. You understand what I mean, right? Now lead the way." Upon hearing this, the middle-aged beauty's face took on a look of ashen defeat, and she could only nod resignedly in agreement. Lu Qing stripped one of the guards of his clothes and put them on, then tossed several corpses into the storeroom and shut the door. Although such a rudimentary disguise couldn't last long, it didn't bother him, as all he needed was a bit of time. "Let's go." After his disguise was complete, Lu Qing ordered. The Zhang mansion was indeed in chaos at the moment. Though Lu Qing's skirmish with the green-clothed nanny had caused a commotion, nobody had come to investigate even now. Having witnessed Lu Qing's ruthless methods, the middle-aged beauty had completely lost the will to resist. She led Lu Qing toward another direction within the mansion. With someone to guide him and Lu Qing's powerful divine soul-sensing ability, the two of them managed to reach the courtyard mentioned by the middle-aged beauty without alerting anyone. Witnessing how Lu Qing seemed to predict the movements of others, avoiding everyone as if by foreknowledge, the middle-aged beauty grew even more in awe of him. "This is the courtyard where the old ancestor lived. I've heard my husband say there's a secret vault entrance in the old ancestor's room, but I've never been in there. In the whole Wei family, only the ancestor, my husband Zheng Shihao, and Zheng Yu have ever been inside." As she spoke, a trace of hatred flashed in the middle-aged woman's eyes. Even that useless Zhang Yu had been allowed into the secret vault. Yet her son, as the eldest, had never been permitted to enter. That old thing was infuriatingly biased. Lu Qing sensed the hatred in the middle-aged beauty's tone, but he didn't care. In a great family like this, there was no end to such sordid affairs, and he had no interest in learning about them. Taking the middle-aged woman with him, he entered the old lady's room and, under the scrutiny of superpower, quickly located a hidden door. To his surprise, the superpower did not detect any traps behind the door. Apparently, the old lady was confident that nobody would intrude on her bedroom. But Lu Qing wasn't careless. Made of steel and nearly indistinguishable from the wall, the hidden door was solid to the touch when Lu Qing knocked on it. Without a way to unlock it, it would be difficult to get inside. However, this did not deter him. With the middle-aged beauty watching, Lu Qing took a long blade from his Chengkuan Qi bag and with a few swift strokes, he had slashed the steel door to pieces. Kicking open the hidden door, Lu Qing entered with the middle-aged beauty, whose face had turned deathly pale. The passage beyond the hidden door was short, and after cautiously checking, Lu Qing found indeed there were no traps inside. Soon, the two of them arrived in a small chamber. In the chamber, luminous pearls provided bright illumination. However, it wasn't the lighting that surprised Lu Qing. What caught his attention first in the chamber caused his eyes to gleam with excitement. Chapter 283, Earth Element Treasure, Ruthless Destruction of Beauty. What is this? In the secret chamber, there weren't many items, just a few wooden shelves. On them were weapons, medicinal herbs, books, various bottles and jars, and other things. However, none of these caught Lu Qing's attention. The first thing that attracted him was something in the center of the secret chamber. It was an egg-sized, very round, bead with a misty yellow-brown surface. It was also the only item not placed on a wooden shelf. Instead, it was supported by a slightly concave black iron stand. As soon as he entered, Lu Qing's intuition told him that this item was extraordinary. He immediately focused his gaze on the yellow-brown bead. Then, after several moments, no information about the bead had appeared. Lu Qing was even more thrilled. Based on his previous experience, the longer it took for superpower to extract an item's information, the more precious the item was likely to be. He patiently waited, continuing to stare at the bead. After several more moments, finally, a faint purple superpower light emerged from the surface of the bead. Purple light item. Lu Qing was taken aback and quickly looked at the information that appeared. Earth Spirit Pearl, a magical bead nurtured from the origin of the earth element, possessing many mysterious and strange functions. It is rumored that only in the deepest parts of the earth, where the power of the earth element is strongest, might an Earth Spirit Pearl be nurtured. It contains the power of the earth element law, making it the best natural spiritual artifact treasure embryo. Heavy as lead, though the bead is small, its weight is astonishing. An Earth Spirit Pearl. It's actually an Earth Spirit Pearl. When Lu Qing finished reading the information about the yellow-brown bead, his emotions could no longer be described simply as thrilled. The Earth Spirit Pearl was also detailed in the records of the Li Hua sect. This was a peculiar bead nurtured from the origin of the earth element's power, possessing various unique powers and extremely rare. Even in the cultivation era, it was an invaluable treasure, certain to provoke competition among cultivators once it appeared. Such an earth element treasure, he hadn't expected to find it stored in the Zheng family's secret vault. It seems that in these tens of thousands of years of spiritual energy depletion, countless spiritual objects have been covered in dust. If it were the cultivation era, how could the Zheng family ever have the chance to store such a treasure like the Earth Spirit Pearl? Lu Qing looked at the Earth Spirit Pearl and sighed. Now he knew why the Zheng family had used an iron stand to support this bead alone. The Earth Spirit Pearl, containing the earth element law, was naturally very heavy. Ordinary wooden shelves simply couldn't support its weight. He reached out, grabbed the Earth Spirit Pearl, and tried to pick it up but found that despite its small size, it was indeed very heavy. Without bursting his chi blood with his cultivation, he temporarily struggled to lift it. With a thought, the chi blood power inside his body suddenly burst forth, veins on his hand becoming visible. Only then did Lu Qing manage to grasp the Earth Spirit Pearl from the iron stand. Goodness! This small bead weighs no less than 1,000 pounds. Weighing the Earth Spirit Pearl in his hand a few times, Lu Qing was somewhat astonished. It was only he, who possessed a physique several times stronger than an ordinary martial arts grandmaster. Otherwise, if it were some weaker martial artist, they wouldn't even be able to pick it up. After all, the bead was so small, it could only be lifted by the power of the fingertips, a feat beyond the capabilities of a general martial artist in the internal organ realm. No wonder the Zheng family dared to place such a treasure in such a conspicuous position in the center of the secret chamber. Perhaps they didn't fully understand the true nature of the Earth Spirit Pearl. But likewise, it might be because the item was so heavy that the difficulty of stealing it was incredibly high. Even if someone could avoid the mansion guards, sneak into the secret chamber, and get their hands on the bead, getting it out successfully would be extremely difficult. Sneaking into Zheng Mansion alone and escaping with an item weighing 1,000 pounds were vastly different tasks. Not to mention that with the weight of the Earth Spirit Pearl, ordinary cloth bags simply couldn't hold up, and it could only be held by hand at most. But if one were to hold a 1,000-pound object in hand, even an innate realm expert might not be confident about sneaking out without alerting the guards. Fortunately, I have a Qianquan Qi bag. Otherwise, it would not be easy to take this thing back. Lu Qing thought to himself, and with a slight movement of his mind, he strenuously collected the Earth Spirit Pearl into the Qianquan Qi bag. The heaviness of the Earth Spirit Pearl was not only physically present but also exerted a strong oppressive force on the divine soul power. Had Lu Qing not refined a divine soul talisman, he might not have been able to put it into the Qianquan Qi bag. After obtaining the Earth Spirit Pearl, Lu Qing then turned his attention to the other items in the secret chamber. However, after acquiring such an earth element treasure like the Earth Spirit Pearl, other items no longer seemed as surprising. Although there were items emitting a golden light, Lu Qing's heart had calmed considerably. He didn't inspect each item one by one but instead collected all of them at once, planning to sort them out after returning. Having plundered everything in the secret chamber, Lu Qing looked at the middle-aged beautiful woman standing in the corner. At this moment, although her face was still somewhat pale, her expression had calmed down a lot. Seeing Lu Qing look over, her body trembled and she asked somewhat shakily, "Is there no possibility for me to survive?" "Oh, why would you think so?" Lu Qing was somewhat surprised. "Since you displayed the ability to conjure objects from thin air in front of me, pulling out that long knife, I knew," the middle-aged woman said bitterly. Lu Qing had, as if conjuring from nowhere, drawn the long knife and then vanished so many items from the secret chamber into thin air. Such methods were truly too mysterious. Even as the matriarch of the Zheng family, she had never heard of martial artists possessing such divine skills. Even the innate realm martial artists like their ancestral grandmaster did not possess such magical techniques. But the middle-aged woman knew that, generally, the more secretive the martial artist's methods, the better it was kept as a trump card, known to as few as possible. Since Lu Qing had used it openly in front of her, it was clear that he was not worried about her leaking it. As for who could keep a secret, naturally it would be someone who was dead. "Madam, you are a wise person," praised Lu Qing. But the implication in his words was clear. "Can you spare me? I swear, I won't reveal anything I saw today, not a single detail," the middle-aged woman pleaded with a pale face. "Madam, if it were you, would you take that risk?" Lu Qing said indifferently. "Besides, do you really think you are some pure lotus flower? In this Zheng mansion, the number of maids and servants you have personally killed is not small." Hearing this, the middle-aged woman's eyes suddenly widened. But in the next moment, Lu Qing's figure appeared in front of her, his finger lightly touching her forehead. With a burst of force, the middle-aged woman's body violently trembled. Her eyes became unfocused, and she gradually collapsed to the ground. Chapter 284 Refinement of the Earth Spirit Pearl. Watching the middle-aged beauty's life essence gradually dissipating, Lu Qing's face remained expressionless. He had never intended to truly let her go the moment he read the information about the middle-aged beauty. The reason he didn't kill her immediately was simply that she still had some utility. Even the poison he had fed her was real. The poison was something Lu Qing had found on an assassin from Seven Killings Tower. Exceptionally cruel. Had she not taken the antidote within the time limit, the middle-aged beauty would indeed have died a gruesome death from her intestines rupturing. However, considering that she led the way for him, Lu Qing ultimately chose to let her die without suffering. After a final glance at the corpse of the middle-aged beauty, and using his superpower to confirm her death, Lu Qing left the secret chamber and exited Zhang Mansion. But before leaving, he did something else. Fire! There's a fire! A quarter of an hour later, as Lu Qing stood atop a tall tower, Zhang Mansion was already in chaos. Multiple streaks of flames shot up into the sky, raging fiercely. The places where the fire started were exactly where Lu Qing had raided the storerooms and Mrs. Zheng's courtyard, as well as 2 other uninhabited small courtyards. Naturally, Lu Qing did this to create a diversion. By the time the fire died down, the storerooms and the old lady's courtyard would probably be in ruins. How much had been burned and how much had been stolen were things no one would know. After watching for a while from the tower and seeing that the fire wouldn't be extinguished anytime soon, Lu Qing left, satisfied. After all, the most precious items were already in his possession. He wouldn't care even if the entire Zhang Mansion burnt down. Moreover, the residences in the west of the city were homes to the wealthy and noble. Each mansion was separate, with significant distances between them. The Great Fire at Zhang Mansion wouldn't reach any other homes. Thus he left State Mansion City with great ease. While leaving State Mansion City, Lu Qing saw a well-dressed elderly scholar and a large group of people returning from outside the city. However, none of them noticed Lu Qing. Watching them hasten toward Zhang Mansion, Lu Qing felt somewhat amused. He wondered what their expressions would be when they discovered the Zhang family's treasury destroyed by fire. With a very pleasant mood, after leaving State Mansion City and entering the forest, Lu Qing immediately activated the Earth Element Talisman and used his movement technique, heading in the direction of Jili Village. After a long journey with frequent stops, Lu Qing returned to Jili Village without incident. However, he did not go home but directly entered the forest and went to the Jade Cave. Everything in the Jade Cave was as before. Lu Qing sat on the jade bed in the secret room and took out the Earth Spirit Pearl from the Chenkuan Qi bag. The reason he hadn't gone home was precisely for this Earth Element treasure bead. Even in the cultivation era, the Earth Spirit Pearl would have been regarded as a treasure, its value by no means inferior to those powerful high-tier spiritual artifacts. Because such a treasure, birthed from the Earth Element origin and imbued with the purest Earth Element power, had all sorts of incredible uses. Once refined, the cultivator would gain unimaginable benefits. Among them, one was my talent, which had already reached its limit, could once again obtain enhancement. A glint of light appeared in Lu Qing's eyes. According to the Li Hua sect's inherited records, the 5 fundamental spiritual pearls each possessed all sorts of wondrous uses. If one could refine any one of them for personal use, they could harness the power of the spiritual pearl to cleanse the physical body and enhance one's inborn talent. Lu Qing had previously ingested Earth Vein spiritual liquid, and his cultivation talent had been enhanced to a certain limit. Unless he could find something even more extraordinary than Earth Vein spiritual liquid, it was almost impossible for his cultivation talent to be further improved. Coincidentally, this Earth Spirit Pearl was a cultivation spiritual object far more precious and magical than Earth Vein spiritual liquid. That Mrs. Zhang, her divine soul power is weak, and she lacks heritage. Therefore, she possesses the treasure bead, but is completely unable to comprehend its mysteries, nor does she know how to refine it. She can only store it in her secret vault as a collected item. But I am different. Li Hua sect, as a cultivation sect proficient in both alchemy and artifact refining, holds numerous techniques for refining spiritual objects in its legacy, including a few powerful refining methods that I can currently use. After his emotions fluctuated for a while, Lu Qing then calmed his spirit, settling all his thoughts. Sitting cross-legged, he held the Earth Spirit Pearl in both hands in front of him, ready to begin refinement. It was also thanks to the Jade Bed, nurtured by the array's earth energies for countless years within the Jade Cave, that was extremely sturdy. It was able to bear the weight of the Earth Spirit Pearl. Once his thoughts had completely calmed, the Divine Soul Talisman trembled lightly, and from the acupuncture point between his eyebrows, Lu Qing extended a wisp of divine soul power, which entwined towards the Earth Spirit Pearl. The moment his divine soul power touched the surface of the Earth Spirit Pearl, the first sensation Lu Qing felt was its heaviness, extreme solidity. When he had previously collected the Earth Spirit Pearl, he had relied on the might of the Chenkuan Qi bag, a spiritual artifact, and hadn't felt much. But now, as he directly contacted and felt the Earth Spirit Pearl with his own divine soul power, he truly experienced the might of this Earth element treasure. His divine soul power, when facing the Earth Spirit Pearl, was like an ant climbing a high mountain, completely unable to shake it even slightly, truly a futile effort. However, Lu Qing was using his divine soul power not to move the spiritual pearl, but to refine it. With a thought, the legacy methods for refining spiritual objects with divine soul power in Lu Qing's mind from the Li Huasek's inheritance began to flow. That wisp of divine soul power entwining the Earth Spirit Pearl suddenly became incomparably gentle, like flowing water or mist, softly seeping into the internals of the Earth Spirit Pearl to leave its divine soul imprint. Of course, as the Earth element treasure, the inside of the Earth Spirit Pearl wasn't so easily penetrated. This was destined to be a test of patience and will, a grind. Fortunately, Lu Qing was not lacking in either of these qualities. Time ticked away, and in the Jade Cave, unaware of day or night, whether it was dark or light, the walls of the cave on both sides always emitted a faint white glow. Lu Qing remained seated cross-legged on the jade bed, motionless. Only his slightly pale face showed that he was not having an easy time. Time passed, unknown how long, when suddenly Lu Qing's expression relaxed. He opened his eyes, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. At last, the refinement is successful. Although it's only a preliminary refinement, at least I can now barely control this Earth Spirit Pearl. Fortunately, now that the spiritual energy has not yet revived, and this Earth Spirit Pearl has undergone tens of thousands of years of depletion in spiritual energy, its spiritual nature exhausted and might greatly diminished, otherwise with my current cultivation, thinking of refining it for my own use would be as fanciful as having heavenly opening. Now, let me feel just how wondrous this legendary Earth Spirit Pearl truly is. With a thought from Lu Qing, the painstakingly placed divine soul restriction imprint within the Earth Spirit Pearl suddenly activated. The Earth Spirit Pearl abruptly shrank, transformed into a beam of light, and entered the acupuncture point between his eyebrows. Chapter 285, Breaking Limits, Heaven and Earth Change. The Earth Spirit Pearl had no sooner entered the acupoint between his eyebrows than it headed directly toward the center. At the same time, the divine soul talisman abruptly shrank and flew toward the Earth Spirit Pearl. As the light flickered, and once everything settled down, the space within the acupoint between his eyebrows had transformed completely. In the very center of the space, the Earth Spirit Pearl sat occupied, like an earthy yellow star, dignified and substantial, slowly revolving on its own. Surrounding it, 5 orbs of different colors, transformed from magic talismans, revolved like satellites orbiting around it. As for the divine soul talisman, it had entered inside the Earth Spirit Pearl, positioning itself at the very core. As the Earth Spirit Pearl slowly rotated, emitting threads of awe-inspiring power, Lu Qing began to feel the changes. With the Earth Spirit Pearl's enhancement, the stability of the space within the acupoint between his eyebrows was greatly reinforced once again. Under the Earth Spirit Pearl's radiant influence, his physical body also underwent a peculiar change. Continuously washed and shaken, not only was his talent being elevated, but the strength of his physical body was also gradually increasing. According to common martial arts cultivation knowledge, Lu Qing, who had reached postnatal realm perfection, should have already been at the postnatal limit in terms of physical strength. Before stepping into the innate realm, he should have been unable to progress further, incapable of any enhancement, not even by a smidgen. But clearly, in the face of the Earth element treasure like the Earth Spirit Pearl, that knowledge was broken. Most importantly, now that the divine soul talisman had penetrated into the Earth Spirit Pearl being nourished and protected within, it too was slowly strengthening. truly worthy of being a treasure that could incite countless cultivators to fight over it in the cultivation era. This Earth Spirit Pearl, though only roughly refined by me, already has such marvelous uses. After experiencing the changes within the acupoint between his eyebrows, a look of pleasure appeared on Lu Qing's face. In terms of might, the Earth Spirit Pearl couldn't compete with those powerful spiritual artifacts. Yet, its various supportive and enhancing uses for cultivators were far beyond what an ordinary spiritual artifact could offer. Now that the Earth Spirit Pearl was merely coarsely refined by him, it already provided him with significant benefits. One could only imagine how much more he would gain once he refined it completely and took full control of it in the future. I just don't know. After my physical body and divine soul reach their limits this time, to what extent will they be enhanced? Ever since he condensed the Divine Soul Talisman, both Lu Qing's divine soul and physical body had reached a bottleneck. Apart from breaking into the innate realm, they could hardly be enhanced any further. But now, with the nourishment of the Earth Spirit Pearl, he could once again shatter those limits. He was very much looking forward to seeing how powerful he would become after this transformation was complete. According to the legacy he had obtained, the innate realm was the most significant transformation on the path of martial arts. The more solid the foundation a martial artist laid before stepping into the innate realm, the greater the benefits obtained after the breakthrough. After this transformation is over, I dare not say for other times, but since the decline of spiritual energy and the prevalence of martial arts in these tens of thousands of years, my martial arts foundation would be almost unprecedented, even if not unmatched in history. Lu Qing clenched his fist, feeling the surging power within him, and a confident look appeared in his eyes. Thud! Just as Lu Qing was imagining his future path in martial arts, a sudden, invisible pulsation, like a heartbeat, resonated. What's happening? Lu Qing was greatly shocked. Thud! Just when he wondered whether someone was attacking from outside. Another pulsation resounded. This time, Lu Qing finally realized that the vibration was not from an attack. And it was a change in the cosmos far greater than any other. This fluctuation, like the heartbeat of heaven and earth, swept across the land, unstoppable by anything. Even from within the jade cave, Lu Qing could feel it so clearly. Thump! The third wave resounded. Lu Qing sat on the jade bed, quietly listening to the succession of formless pulses, as if contemplating something. Thump! After the ninth pulse had throbbed, the world began to return to calm. But Lu Qing clearly sensed that the heaven and earth had undergone a very peculiar change. Around him, space seemed infused with an indescribable essence, becoming more lively and vivacious. This slight change was still in its infancy and not very obvious. Innate realm martial artists with weaker divine soul power probably couldn't discern it. 9 celestial movements. Does this signify that the heavens and earths are finally about to transform? That spiritual energy is truly starting to revive? Lu Qing sat on the jade bed, keenly feeling the changes within space, an understanding awakening inside him. While Lu Qing contemplated these spatial changes, the entire world was also stirred by the 9 heavenly pulsations. The 9 heavenly pulsations were manifestations of the changing heaven and earth rules, perceptible only to martial arts grandmasters who had cultivated divine soul power, or to geniuses with exceptional talents and extraordinary gifts. Ordinary people or martial artists with lower cultivation couldn't catch the sound of heaven and earth, feeling only a depressive atmosphere without knowing why. Yet in this vast world, there were countless who practiced martial arts, and naturally, there were many who had cultivated divine soul power. Especially within powerful sect families, there was no shortage of innate realm experts. In Central State, Tianji Building headquarters. Master, what was that just now? A young man with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, handsome in appearance, looked in shock at an elderly man in white robes, his hair and beard also completely white. This day has finally arrived, the white-haired old man sighed. Master, is this the change in heaven and earth you've always been concerned about? The handsome youth asked. Yes, the sound of the heaven and earth resounded 9 times to inform the world that the heaven and earth rules have begun to change, and a great transformation is coming upon us. said the white-haired old man with a solemn expression. What should we at Tianji Building do, master? For now, let's just watch and wait. As the heavens and earth have just begun to shift, the divine destiny is obscured, and even I can no longer make predictions. It's unclear what changes will follow, so it's not wise to act rashly. But master, didn't you say once the change in heaven and earth begins, all manner of devils will emerge and the world will descend into chaos? Should we at Tianji Building just watch? There's nothing we can do at the moment. When the divine destiny is not clear, our greatest advantage at Tianji Building is gone. Acting rashly might lead to unpredictable consequences. The white-haired old man spoke helplessly. As the master of Tianji Building, he had to consider the welfare of his sect. When the path ahead was uncertain, one could not act recklessly. Otherwise, Tianji Building might fall into an abyss from which it could not recover. It's likely that the top sects were of the same mind, mostly waiting and observing. But what then of the attitudes of the four great secret places? Do those legendary cultivation sects truly exist? And the demon sect, which escaped to the extreme north more than 1,000 years ago and lay dormant, now stirring with ambition, what are their desires? There were too many issues weighing on the heart of the white-haired old man, making his mood extremely heavy. Chapter 286. Reactions from all parties. The demon's trace reappears. I feel it. The bottleneck is loosening. In Central State, within a powerful major sect, a middle-aged man clad in a purple robe stood atop a mountain peak, his eyes slightly closed, keenly sensing the changes in the world after the disturbance. But it's still not enough. Just this change isn't sufficient for me to break through. The man in the purple robe opened his eyes and shook his head. Yet the joy in his eyes could not be concealed no matter what. After all, for so many years he had been stuck at the perfect innate realm, and no matter how he cultivated, his cultivation didn't advance an inch. Now that hope had finally emerged. How could he not be ecstatic? After the joy, the man in the purple robe's gaze shifted in a certain direction, filled with hatred. It's said that in the four great secret places, the rules are different from the outside world, allowing one to break free from the shackles of the heaven and earth laws and break through to a realm above innate. That's why the four great secret places are so mystical. Any person who comes out from them can stir the world, commanding respect from all sects. But now, the changes in the world have begun, and the shackles will soon be opened. When that time comes, the natural advantages of the four great secret places will also be gone. Cloudwater's secret realm. One day, I, Long Tian, will storm into the secret land and trample you all beneath my feet, to avenge the grudge of my wife being taken away. Jizhou. In some desolate and abandoned village, a bizarre person, disheveled, with an aged complexion but an unusually strong body, was originally working on several young martial artists bound tightly in front of him. Then, after hearing those 9 heaven and earth Tao sounds, his face showed manic joy. Ha ha ha! Heaven and earth Tao sound. This world is really going to be resurrected. I've truly waited, truly waited. The heavens have not treated me unkindly. Not treated me unkindly. I finally endured to this day. The last reincarnation of 10 Directions Demon Venerable was not tortured to death after all, and I've even been allowed to await such a grand opportunity. The revival of the world, the return of spiritual energy, and especially in this world where the immortal Tao has vanished. This is my greatest fortune. My greatest fortune. The bizarre person howled to the sky, in a frenzied state, causing the few young martial artists beside him to shudder with fear and tremble all over, clueless as to what madness this demon was spouting. But in the next moment, the bizarre person suddenly turned his gaze towards them. With the revival of the world imminent, I must quickly restore my cultivation to the innate realm, and truly begin to learn my blood-refining demon skill, to have enough capital to compete for those opportunities. Ah! Spare us, Senior. Please spare us. The young martial artists, upon seeing the blood-red eyes of the bizarre person, started screaming in terror. But it was all in vain. The bizarre individual completely ignored their cries, grabbing one of the young women by the top of her head. As the devil technique activated, streams of chi blood were drawn out and absorbed into his body. and the young woman faced excruciating pain, visibly aging quickly before the eyes. Not long after, when the bizarre person released his hand, the young woman's body fell to the side, her features withered and her vitality gradually fading. "Senior brother, save me," the young woman murmured weakly, her breath finally ceasing. "Junior sister." This terrifying and horrific scene caused the other few young martial artists to be petrified with fear, screaming even more frantically beyond their dread. But no matter how much they struggled, their fate was sealed. As the bizarre person's palm fell repeatedly, each martial artist was quickly drained of their chi blood and perished. As the essence chi of the final young man was drained away and he lay dying, his heart was filled with unending regret. "I should have known, I should have heeded Master's teachings, and stayed within the sect these past days, without setting foot outside." Yet, he overestimated his own strength, believing that with their sword array, he and his fellow disciples could easily slay this demon and uplift the prestige of their sect. Who could have expected that this demon would be so terrifying, shattering their sword array with just a few moves and capturing them here to deploy an evil technique and kill them? "Junior brother, junior sister, your senior brother has failed you," the young man murmured, choking on endless regret as he drew his final breath. The eerie figure heard the young man's words, yet his face remained devoid of any fluctuation. He had heard such phrases countless times before. In his long life, he had committed acts far more cruel than this, many times over. Crushing a few insignificant insects was simply incapable of stirring any emotion within him. Sitting cross-legged, he circulated his cultivation for a moment to absorb the essence blood he had extracted, but the eerie figure frowned. "These worthless talents are truly too inferior, not even capable of enhancing my root bone in the slightest. It seems that ordinary martial artists are no longer of use to me. Only those once-in-a-century cultivation geniuses can continue to improve the talent of this body."
Yunir.
"Where are you?" As the eerie figure was contemplating, an anxious shout interrupted his thoughts. Hearing the approaching voice, powerful and capable of carrying across several miles, it was clearly a high-level martial artist of the innate realm. The eerie figure didn't hesitate, immediately concealing his presence and using his movement technique to silently depart. Currently, to confront a martial arts expert of the innate realm was still quite difficult for him. His blood-refining technique had yet to be perfected. Facing them head-on was likely to result in disadvantage. Once my devil technique is perfected and the day of breakthrough comes, I must capture a few from the innate realm to sate my craving." Being forced to leave by a mere innate realm, the eerie figure had a surging malevolence in his heart. "Ah, demon, I, Li Jianxing, swear, no matter if I have to chase you to the ends of the earth, I will execute you beneath my sword." Just as the eerie figure had departed, over a dozen breaths later, the sound of a mournful shout echoed through the desolate village. The eerie figure, who had already fled a great distance, merely revealed a hint of disdain upon hearing that roar. The innate realm experts sent out by the various major sects and families are growing in number, and those talented martial artists are all holed up within their sects, not venturing out. Jizhou is no longer suitable for me to stay in. It's time to move on, but where should I go? Putting recent events behind him, the eerie figure continued his contemplation. To further enhance my root bone, I must continue to absorb the chi blood and bone marrow of young, talented martial artists, usurping their foundation for my own use. The young martial artists in Jizhou have already been terrorized by me and won't venture outside for a while, but the other states do not share this climate of fear. I've heard that in the neighboring Tsang state, a true genius martial artist appeared 2 years ago. At just 17, he ranked highly on the Hidden Dragon list. Furthermore, rumors suggest that he may be the legendary child of fate. The more the eerie figure thought about it, the brighter the gleam in his eyes became. As heaven and earth revive and spiritual energy reappears, many scions of heaven blessed with fate will be born amidst this tremendous transformation of the world. If I can plunder the foundations of these peerless geniuses, I can certainly forge an unparalleled root bone. With this as my base to lay down the strongest demon foundation, Even becoming a revered demon could be effortless. That lad from Tsang State, his name is Lu Qing if I recall correctly. The first nourishment on my supreme path will begin with you. Chapter 287. Return, Aftermath. Old Dr. Chun, what was that just now? Wei Shanhai looked to old Dr. Chun with a face full of shock. The two men were originally sitting under the plum tree drinking tea when they were suddenly jolted by an unexpected fluctuation of heaven and earth. Wei Shanhai was baffled and could only ask old Dr. Chun. He knew that old Dr. Chen's realm was far more profound than his own, so he should be able to discern something. Old Dr. Chen's expression remained serene, and after a fine sensing, he finally sighed. It probably signifies the beginning of that earth-shaking event foretold in legends. You mean the cataclysm mentioned by Tianji Building is about to start? Wei Shanhai's body shook with this revelation. I'm afraid so. The fluctuation just now was an emanation from heaven and earth, and I can vaguely sense that there have already been some subtle changes in the world, although these changes are not yet clear and hard to perceive. Old Dr. Chun nodded. So, what exactly is changing in this heaven and earth transformation? Wei Shanhai was still somewhat at a loss. I do not know either. Old Dr. Chun shook his head. But since heaven and earth have already shown signs, clearly it won't take long, and we will be able to see what the changes truly entail. In fact, old Dr. Chun did know a bit. If the conjecture in the notes that Lu Qing once showed him was correct, then the so-called revival of spiritual energy might be about to truly begin. But that was merely a speculation in an ancient book, and before it was confirmed, old Dr. Chun dared not be sure if it was truly as such. If heaven and earth are truly going to change, it seems that turbulent times are really upon us. Wei Shanhai lamented. Old Dr. Chun also fell into silence. In actuality, he had also felt something else within the sounds of heaven and earth just now. But it wasn't suitable to speak of it at this time. Grandpa Chun, what was happening just now? It seemed quite noisy outside. At this moment, little Yen walked out of the house, rubbing her eyes sleepily and cradling little Li. It turned out that she and little Li were taking a nap in the house when they were suddenly awakened by the noise. But her words made both old Dr. Chun and Wei Shanhai jointly shudder in awe. Little Yen, you could hear the commotion just now? Wei Shanhai asked eagerly. Yes, it was so loud. How could I not hear it? Grandpa Wei, is someone demolishing their house? Little Yen said vaguely. Then Wei Shanhai's mouth gaped slightly, his gaze fixed on little Yen in disbelief. Old Dr. Chun knew why he was so astonished. The sound of heaven and earth previously was the manifestation of the vibration from the changes in the heaven and earth rules, not ordinary sounds, and beyond the hearing of mere flesh. By rights, only a martial arts grandmaster who has refined their divine soul power and an innate realm expert could sense that majestic sound. But little Yen, a mere child, was able to hear it in her sleep, which astounded Wei Shanhai. But old Dr. Chun understood some of the details. He knew that Lu Qing had once given little Yen earth vein spirit liquid to consume. Its miraculous effects he had experienced himself. Not only could it greatly enhance a person's talent, but with some luck, it could even stimulate some special innate talents. Apparently, after consuming the earth vein spirit liquid, little Yen must have acquired some special ability that allowed her to listen to that sound of heaven and earth. Old Dr. Chun, it seems little Yen's talent is also quite extraordinary. At this point, Wei Shanhai also realized. His eyes filled with wonder as he looked at little Yen, as if she were a rare treasure. Before, he only thought little Yen was smart and lively, and she appeared much more endearing and spirited than ordinary children. But considering she was Lu Qing's sister and was greatly cherished by old Dr. Chun, with the cultivation and insight of these two, it was only natural for little Yen to excel beyond ordinary children. Now it seemed, things were far from simple. Without a trace of cultivation, she could listen to the sounds of heaven and earth rules changing. It was evident that little Yen must possess some special talent. And it made sense. Lu Qing was a once-in-a-millennium prodigy, a child of fate. So how could little Yen, born of the same mother and close in blood, be ordinary? It was simply that she was still young and had not yet revealed her inherent talents. The more Wei Shanhai pondered, the more he believed it to be true. The way he looked at little Yen became increasingly fervent. Old Dr. Chun, little Yen is over 7 now, isn't she? Why hasn't she started studying martial arts under your guidance? Wei Shanhai grew fonder of little Yen and then turned to ask. Old Dr. Chan saw Wei Shanhai's intent and recalled something Lu Qing once said. So he simply shook his head. Ah Qing once mentioned that little Yan's path of cultivation is quite peculiar and should not be rushed. We need to wait until the right time when he personally arranges it, so I haven't interfered. Over the years, old Dr. Chun had also asked Lu Qing whether little Yen should begin practicing martial arts. But Lu Qing always said the time was not right, so until now, little Yen had yet to start formal cultivation. So young Master Lu had plans in place already. Upon hearing this, Wei Shanhai realized there was no chance of taking little Yen as a disciple. In his mind, Lu Qing was even more mysterious than old Dr. Chun. If he had plans in place, it was obviously not possible for little Yen to just take any mentor. Grandpa Chun, why hasn't my brother returned yet? How much longer will he stay in the mountains? Little Yen misses him. Hearing them talk about Lu Qing, little Yen's lips pouted, her voice tinged with grievance. It had been many days since she had last seen her brother. That's true, old Dr. Chun. Why has young Master Lu's seclusion taken so long this time? Wei Shanhai also asked. Chapter 288. After Lu Qing sparred with him, he said he had gained some insight and went into seclusion, which has now lasted 7 days. Lu Qing rarely goes into seclusion for such a long time. Could it be possible that he is about to break through directly to the innate realm? At this thought, Wei Shanhai felt a shock in his heart. If that were true, it would be a significant event. Lu Qing is only a few years old. If he were truly to step into the innate realm and word spread, it could very well shake the entire world, and even the 4 great secret places would tremble. I don't know. Ah Qing only mentioned he was going into seclusion for a while, but he didn't specify for how long. The elder doctor was also intrigued. He knew that Lu Qing must have gone into seclusion in the mountains, to that miraculous place where he and little Li once found the earth vein spirit liquid. But because of little Yen, he seldom goes into seclusion for such a long time. This time it was indeed a bit unusual. Unfortunately, he had never visited that miraculous place. Little Li, ever inseparable from little Yen, beyond Lu Qing and little Yen, couldn't be directed by anyone else, not even himself. Otherwise, he could have gone to see what was happening. Swoosh! While the elder doctor and others were thinking about Lu Qing, the little Li that little Yen was holding suddenly leapt out of her arms and dashed outside. The elder doctor and the others were initially startled, then realized and quickly looked outside. Then they saw a figure standing at the entrance of the courtyard, with little Li on his shoulder, rubbing his head continuously against him. Who else could it be but Lu Qing? Brother! Seeing Lu Qing, little Yen immediately ran forward with her arms open and began to jump before she even got close, lunging toward Lu Qing. Afraid she might fall, Lu Qing could only extend his hands to catch her. Seeing the little one bury her head in his chest, looking as if she was about to cry, he tenderly ruffled her hair. Sorry, little Yen. Brother was wrong this time for secluding so long. Thankfully, little Yan's moods come and go quickly, and she is easy to console. Soon, under Lu Qing's comforting, she was giggling again. After calming little Yen down, Lu Qing then set her down and approached the elder doctor and the other person. He first greeted Wei Shanhai, then said to the elder doctor, Master, I am back. Good. It's good you're back. The elder doctor nodded his head, not asking why Lu Qing's seclusion this time was longer than usual. On the other hand, Wei Shanhai couldn't suppress his curiosity. Young Master Lu, have you stepped into the innate realm this time? The hope was evident in Wei Shanhai's eyes. Although he couldn't feel the unique innate essence from Lu Qing, he had been unable to discern Lu Qing's true nature long ago. So it would not surprise him at all if Lu Qing had a secret technique that could conceal his own innate essence. I have not. Lu Qing shook his head. Although this seclusion has yielded some gains, it only further solidified my foundation. I have not yet reached the innate realm. I see, Wei Shanhai said, somewhat disappointed but still comforting. Young Master Lu need not be disheartened. The innate realm, though profound, is a matter of time for someone of your talent. I believe with some more cultivation, the breakthrough will come naturally. Thank you for your guidance, Senior Wei, Lu Qing said, bowing in thanks. Master, have you had lunch? After chatting a bit more, Lu Qing asked. Not yet. Perfect timing. I've been secluded these days and I've gotten a bit peckish, he said. I'll go make some simple dishes to fill up. Lu Qing hadn't realized that refining the Earth Spirit Pearl had unconsciously taken up so much time. Had it not been for his profound cultivation and strong qi blood, his body would have probably given in long ago. Go ahead. The elder doctor naturally had no objections. Senior Wei, please stay and have dinner as well, Lu Qing invited. I won't stand on ceremony then, Wei Shanhai smiled. Young Master Lu, the meals you prepare have a unique flavor. Even Ning Yan and Xian often reminisce about them. Today, I consider myself fortunate. Over the past 2 years, Wei Shanhai had sampled Lu Qing's cooking a few times. It was indeed unique, impressing even someone like him who wasn't particularly indulgent in culinary desires. Now that he heard Lu Qing was going to cook again, he was genuinely looking forward to it. It's just some homely simple meals. Mrs. Wei and the others praised them too highly. Lu Qing entered the kitchen and spent an hour preparing some dishes. Having not tasted Lu Qing's cooking for many days, Little Yen and Little Li were especially delighted. The elder doctor and Wei Shanhai naturally found the meal very satisfying as well. At the dinner table, Lu Qing subtly began to inquire about the affairs of State Mansion City. He had not anticipated that refining the Earth Spirit Pearl in the Jade Cave would suddenly take 6 or 7 days. He knew nothing about how the situation in State Mansion City had developed since he left, and could only probe Wei Shanhai for insights. Surprisingly, Wei Shanhai was well informed. After all, many of the Wei family's industries had moved there years ago, so he was quite clued in on the happenings there. The chaos Lu Qing caused in State Mansion City, having even slain someone from the innate realm, was too big an incident to keep under wraps. On the second day after the incident, the Wei family's spies in State Mansion City relayed the news back. Subsequently, the Wei family continued to monitor the developments there closely. Young Master Lu, you might not know, but that old lady Zhang secretly conducted a living person sacrifice years ago when her eldest son died. The city lord invited all major power holders to open the grave for verification and discovered dozens of clay figurines left from conducting that evil technique in the tomb. You can imagine how utterly cruel and vile old lady Zhang was. It's no wonder that it provoked a mysterious powerful person to take action and angrily execute her. Honestly, if I had known about this, I probably couldn't have resisted taking action myself to teach that old lady a lesson. That mysterious strong person decisively killed her, destroyed her most cherished son and grandson's tomb and coffins, and even shot her second son with an arrow. It was truly satisfying. Wei Shanhai recounted the happenings in State Mansion City to Lu Qing and then sighed. Such an incident, who is that mysterious powerful person? Does anyone know? Lu Qing asked in surprise. The elder doctor, having already heard these stories, showed no surprise. That's exactly the strangest part. This mysterious powerful person appeared out of nowhere, and nobody could trace his origins. Yet his strength is extraordinarily alarming. It is said that when he killed old lady Zhang, it took him only about a dozen breaths. Mind you, although old lady Zhang's lifespan wasn't much, she was nonetheless a peak figure in the initial innate realm. She couldn't last even a dozen breaths before being executed. This illustrates how formidable that mysterious person is. Many suspect that he must be a fearsome figure, at least above innate minor achievement. Lu Qing. Rumors really do grow more exaggerated as they spread. He didn't even know that he had already become an innate minor achievement powerhouse. After suffering such a great calamity, what happened to the Zhang family? Lu Qing asked after a pause. What else could happen? Despite being prosperous, Every piece of land in State Mansion City is worth its weight in gold. Countless people covet each plot. With the Zheng family losing their most crucial innate realm protection and even their family head dead, on top of committing the great taboo of privately conducting a living person sacrifice, their fate was sealed. Just these past few days, all direct descendants of the Zheng family were arrested by the city lord, locked in the prison to await trial, while the rest of the collateral family members had their property confiscated and were expelled from the city. They are banned from entering the city for 3 generations, and anyone who violates this order will be executed. It can be said that the Zheng family is gone, completely wiped out. Chapter 289, Warning from Heaven and Earth, the Elder Doctor's Decision. Having learned of the Zheng family's final fate from Wei Shanhai, Lu Qing felt quite satisfied. It seemed that the city lord, after all, dealt with affairs justly. After lunch, Wei Shanhai took his leave to return to the guest house. Old Dr. Chen's expression, however, grew more serious. "Ah Qing, come with me for a moment." Lu Qing, sensing the unusual look on his master's face, felt a chill in his heart and immediately followed him to the study. "Ah Qing, did you hear the 9 sounds of heaven and earth not long ago?" Old Dr. Chen asked. Lu Qing nodded and answered, "Yes." Disciple had just finished seclusion and felt that fluctuation of heaven and earth. "It looks like the revival of spiritual energy you spoke of is really coming, and that legendary path of the immortals truly exists." Old Dr. Chen sighed. "Master, is there something amiss? Logically speaking, the revival of spiritual energy should be a good thing for those like them who were cultivating." But Lu Qing saw a look of concern on his master's face and couldn't help but ask. "Previously, when that fluctuation of heaven and earth occurred, I had a premonition," said old Dr. Chen. "What premonition?" Lu Qing's heart stirred. He thought of the merit light his master possessed. The merit light, wonderfully unique. Legend has it that those who possesses the merit light can turn calamity into safety, receive heaven's protection, and have profound luck. Could it be that the premonition his master felt was guidance and warning given by heaven and earth? I'm not entirely clear on the specifics, but I know that alarming changes are to come in this world, and it's not only a transformation of heaven and earth rules but also changes in people's hearts and the global situation. When that time comes, various disasters may arise, causing living creatures to suffer, leaving no place in the world untouched. Old Dr. Chen's face became more severe than ever. His heart had been greatly shaken when he first felt this premonition. But since Wei Shanhai was present at that time, he had forced himself to calm down to avoid causing undue panic. Is it that serious? Lu Qing's heart was jolted. If his master's premonition was correct, then the upheaval brought about by the revival of spiritual energy would be even greater than he had imagined. Therefore, I've made a decision. Lu Qing was taken aback. "Master, what decision?" "I want to make a trip to Central State." Central State. Lu Qing was very surprised, but he quickly understood. "Master, do you plan to go to Holy Mountain?" "Exactly. Since the world's chaos is unavoidable, we can only try our best to strengthen our own foundation. Only then will we have the strength to protect ourselves and shelter a region." Determination shone on old Dr. Chen's face. He had a heart of medical benevolence and could never bear to see others suffer. Therefore, although he disliked conflict, he also understood that in tumultuous times, only strong power could protect the people and things he cherished. "Ah Qing, do you wish to continue your secluded cultivation in the village, or accompany your master to Central State?" asked old Dr. Chen. "Disciple naturally wants to follow by master's side, to serve you, elder," stated Lu Qing at once. He knew his master's trip to Central State was to go to Holy Mountain, to secure the opportunity mentioned by Mr. Ji Rui, to enhance his own strength. It also happened that he was quite interested in Central State, and saw no harm in paying it a visit. After all, as the most prosperous state in this world, it must be exceptional. This shift in heaven and earth and the revival of spiritual energy might bring the greatest changes there. "Master, when do you plan to leave?" "As soon as possible, perhaps within the next couple of days." Old Dr. Chen's plans to travel to Central State were quickly known to Wei Shanhai. He immediately came to the half-mountain small courtyard. Elder Dr. Chen, you and young Master Lu are going to Central State? Yes, so while we're away, we would ask your family to help keep an eye on Jili Village, nodded old Dr. Chen. He and Lu Qing had to go to Central State, and while others need not be informed, it was essential to notify Wei Shanhai. With the imminent upheaval in the world, nothing concerned the master and disciple duo more than the well-being of the villagers of Jili Village. Of course, the villagers here are simple and honest. I like it here too and naturally won't let anyone bully them. Wei Shanhai readily agreed. He had been staying frequently at the other residence over the past 2 years and had grown quite fond of the simple and peaceful village. However, Elder Doctor, since you and young Master Lu are going to Central State, I have a somewhat presumptuous request, though I am not sure if I should speak of it. Mr. Wei, please feel free to speak your mind. It's just that, since you and young Master Lu are traveling to Central State, I wonder if you could take Xian and his master with you? Young Master Wei and Ma Guyo? Lu Qing exclaimed in surprise. Yes, Xian has grown up and it's time for him to venture out and broaden his horizons. The journey to Central State is long and travel is inconvenient. Even if he could just carry some luggage for you, it would be a blessing for him. Lu Qing understood. The Wei family wanted Wei Xian to gain some experience on the road, but they were also concerned about his safety, which is why they wished for him to follow them. After all, Wei Xian had survived an assassination attempt. Who knows whether the mysterious figure behind it had truly given up or not. Accompanying them on their journey would be the safest measure. Neither Lu Qing nor old Dr. Chen had any objections to this idea. Since they were already taking little Yen with them, having Wei Xian and Ma Guyo along would be beneficial if any emergencies arose, as they could help look after little Yen. There's no need to be so formal. If young Master Wei and Ma Guyo also wish to travel, then let's journey together. Old Dr. Chen chuckled. Old Dr. Chen agrees? Then I'll go back and have Xian make preparations. Upon receiving old Dr. Chen's approval, Wei Shanhai was pleased and promptly took his leave. For the following 2 days, Lu Qing and the others made preparations for their journey. It was not until the day before departure that the villagers learned Lu Qing and his companions were about to embark on a trip. Ah Qing, although I know you've become very capable, there are still things I must say. When traveling, you must be careful in all matters, and listen to old Dr. Chen's advice. Do not act rashly. At the entrance of the village, Grandpa Zhang held Lu Qing's hand and gave him a heartfelt admonition. Behind him, many villagers from Jili Village gathered to see off Lu Qing and his companions. Time had passed 2 years, and not only did Grandpa Zhang not show signs of aging, but he seemed even more vital, all thanks to Lu Qing's regular treatments. In reality, over these 2 years, Lu Qing had made rapid progress not only in his martial arts cultivation but also in his medical skill. The most noticeable effect was the significant health improvements of the elderly in the village, due to his regular acupuncture treatments. Grandpa Zhang, I will remember that. Lu Qing nodded earnestly. Little Yen, once you are outside, you must listen to your brother and Grandpa Chen. Don't be naughty, and don't wander off on your own. Understand? Elsewhere, several village aunties hugged little Yen and gave their words of advice. Little Yen will be very good. Little Yen responded loudly. Ah Qing, it's time to set out. After saying their goodbyes, it was finally time to depart, and old Dr. Chen called out. Understood. Lu Qing picked up little Yen and gave a slight bow to the villagers. Grandpa Zhang, and everyone else, little Yen and I will take our leave now. With that, he carried little Yen and headed towards a carriage, where they both boarded. The carriage was prepared by the Wei family. Since they were traveling to Central State, a lengthy journey, and they had to take a child like little Yen with them, it was obviously inappropriate to go on foot. Therefore, the Wei family arranged a very spacious carriage, which could accommodate Lu Qing and his group with plenty of room to spare. Giddy up! Once Lu Qing and little Yen were inside the carriage, Ma Guyo, serving as the coachman, cracked his whip and the sound of horse hooves echoed as the carriage began to move slowly, heading out of the village. Grandpa Zhang and other villagers stood at the entrance, watching the carriage gradually disappear with a feeling of reluctance. It wasn't until the carriage was out of sight that Grandpa Zhang suddenly remembered something and hastily asked, "Right? Did they tie the red rope?" "Yes, father," his eldest son answered. Ah Ching had already wrapped their red ropes around the letter tree before coming out. That's good, that's good." Grandpa Zhang breathed a sigh of relief, but still feeling somewhat anxious. He began to remind the village's youth. "On regular days, remember to keep an eye on those red ropes. Ah Ching and the others are headed for Central State, and we don't know how far away it is. They may not return for a year or even longer, so we can't let the wind and rain knock the red ropes down." "Understood." The young villagers responded in unison. The departure of Lu Qing and his companions did not bring much change to Jili village. The community was saddened for a short while before life returned to its regular pace. 2 days later, a disheveled figure appeared just outside Jili village. Chapter 290, A Narrow Escape. Is this the village where that kid named Lu Qing has been hiding? This place is so ordinary, yet it can birth such an unparalleled genius. The heavenly Dao Qi fortune really is mysterious and unpredictable, beyond comprehension. A figure with disheveled hair gazed at the tranquil mountain village ahead, a strange light flickering in his eyes. He had spent quite some effort these past few days to scout out Lu Qing's whereabouts and then had immediately rushed over without stopping. However, it seemed he hadn't sensed any powerful presence within the village. Could he have gone out? The disheveled figure muttered to himself. He didn't rush into the village. Rumor had it that Lu Qing's master was an enigmatic innate realm martial artist who had defeated Wang Tsangyi of Tiansong sect with a single move. The figure pondered how strong this master really was. With his current strength, he already found it challenging enough to face someone at the initial innate realm, let alone higher levels. There was no need to provoke a conflict unnecessarily. The disheveled figure decided to lurk outside the village instead, waiting for a few days to see if an opportunity presented itself. After all, with his ability, if he truly wanted to hide his presence, even those in the innate realm would struggle to detect him. Just as the disheveled figure was about to find a hiding spot on a hillside outside of the village, waiting for the right moment, suddenly he heard a few sentences that made him halt in his tracks. "Aunt Ming, do you think Ah Qing and old Dr. Chan have left Song State by now? It's not that quick. Song State is quite big, and the horse carriage Ah Qing and the rest are on doesn't look like it can go very fast. It's only been 2 or 3 days, so they probably haven't left Song State yet. Ah Qing and the others are going to Central State, but I have no idea how far it is or how long it will take to get there. I don't know either. I've never left Artsong State in my whole life, and I've only been to the county a few times. But I've heard the elderly in our village say that Central State is far away. With Ah Qing and the others setting off now, it would probably take more than a year or so to come back. That's so far. I wonder if little Yen will cry on the way. It's not easy being away from home. Why did old Dr. Chan and the rest have to go to such a distant place like Central State? Old Dr. Chan and Ah Qing, they are all martial artists after all. We wouldn't understand the affairs of such important people. Didn't you see that even the Wei family's young master has set off with Ah Qing? They must have some very important matters to attend to. The disheveled figure turned his head to see 2 village women, each carrying a bamboo basket and chatting as they walked out of the village. Thinking about their conversation just now, he had an idea, and his facial expression immediately changed. Stooping over to match his tattered clothes, he appeared quite pitiful. "Ladies, I would like to ask you something, if I may." The disheveled figure approached the 2 village women and intercepted them with a voice that sounded weak. "What is it, old man?" Seeing an old man obstructing their path, the village women stopped. "I've heard that there is a divine doctor in this place, known for medical benevolence, who can cure all manner of diseases. I've traveled for several days to seek treatment. Do you know where this divine doctor resides?" The disheveled figure spoke with a frail voice, giving the impression of someone unwell. "Are you looking for old Dr. Chen's treatment, old man?" One of the village women responded with some surprise. "You're a step late, Old Dr. Chun is not at home anymore. He and his disciple left for a long journey 2 days ago. How can this be? The disheveled figure showed disappointment. Do you know where old Dr. Chun has traveled to and when he will return? I wonder if I could wait here for his return. That might be difficult. Old Dr. Chun and the rest have gone to Central State, which is said to be quite far away. It might be more than a year before they come back. The village woman looked at him with pity, seeing that his health seemed to be in poor condition. That's a shame. It really is too bad. The disheveled figure's face showed regret as he turned his body shakily, as though about to leave, but a cunning glint flashed in his eye. Hang on, old man. At that moment, one of the farm women called out to him. She then took out 2 rice balls from her bamboo basket and handed them to him. You've come all this way and probably haven't had anything to eat. Here are 2 rice balls I brought for my husband who's working in the fields. You can take them for your journey. The other village woman also extracted 2 vegetable dumplings from her basket. I have some food here too. If you don't mind, old man, please take them. Seeing the disheveled figure seem stunned, the 2 women didn't wait for a response and stuffed the food into his hands. Old man, we have farm work to do. Be careful on your way back since you're advanced in years. After giving their advice, the women hurried off towards the fields outside the village. From beginning to end, the disheveled figure didn't move, just silently watched them leave. Only after their figures had disappeared from the outskirts of the village did he withdraw his gaze. Looking at the rice balls and vegetable dumplings in his hands, he casually tossed them into a nearby water ditch. Such lowly food he naturally disdained to eat. Consider this the cost of saving your lives. After all, the lives of you insects are as worthless as these food dumplings. The disheveled figure chuckled lightly and turned to leave. By his nature, anyone who had seen him should have been killed. However, after all, they were only 2 village women and posed no threat to him. Letting them go was of no consequence. He also sensed, not far away in another courtyard, that there was a rather strong presence. Rash action might alert them. He was still in pursuit of Lu Qing, and it was not the time to raise additional complications. Is that the innate realm member of the Wei family, who is only a step away from achieving innate minor achievement? Yet they're leaving on a long journey at this time. Is it coincidence? Or could it be that intangible Chi Fortune protecting you? Odd colors flashed in the disheveled figure's eyes. Truly a child of fate, with Chi Fortune protecting him and allowing him to evade danger beforehand. The more so, the more it shows how extraordinary you are. If I could consume you, my root bone would undoubtedly undergo a transformation like never before. Lu Qing, wait for me. You cannot escape the palm of my hand. You're destined to become my nourishment. Even the heavenly Tao Chi Fortune can't keep protecting you forever. When you fall into my stomach, even the Chi Fortune you carry will be mine to claim. With these cold laughs, the disheveled figure also gradually disappeared from the outskirts of Jili village. At the village entrance, only the few rice and vegetable dumplings lay quietly in the ditch. No one knew that such a terrifying evil demon had just been at this place. Nor did the villagers know that, unknowingly, they had narrowly escaped a disaster. Chapter 291. Nameless Taoist Temple, Rain from the Heavens. Master, I'm afraid we won't be able to reach the next town to stay overnight. Little did Lu Qing and his companions know that behind them, a demon that had caused a huge uproar in Jizhou was hot on their trail. At this very moment, they were gazing at the grim clouds overhead with some worry. One glance at the sky was enough to tell that a torrential downpour was imminent. Yet, at this moment, they found themselves outside in the wilderness, a good few dozen miles from the next town. It seemed unlikely they would reach it anytime soon. Since we can't make it in time, let's find a place to take shelter from the rain. I remember there used to be a semi-abandoned Taoist temple nearby, though I'm not sure if it's still inhabitable. The elder doctor looked up at the heavy dark clouds in the sky, knowing that if they didn't find shelter soon, it would be too late. They were relatively better off with a carriage to keep out the rain, so they didn't need to worry too much about getting wet. But the real fear was that if the rain became too heavy, the carriage might get stuck in the mud. that would indeed be troublesome. Under the guidance of the elder doctor, Ma Gu drove the carriage to the abandoned temple. After checking the place inside and out, they found that although the temple was dilapidated, with many areas having collapsed roofs that let in light, fortunately, the main hall was still relatively intact, adequate to keep out the wind and rain. It was just that there wasn't even a signboard out front, leaving them clueless as to what temple this was. "All right, we shall stay here for the night. I believe this rain is not going to be light. We can continue on our journey tomorrow." The elder doctor looked around and then made his decision. Lu Qing and the others naturally had no objections. They were extraordinary individuals. Sleeping outdoors was just a minor inconvenience that wouldn't truly affect them. Even little Yen, who had become very brave nowadays, was not scared in the least. "Master, I'll go outside and gather some firewood to cook later," Lu Qing said, noticing that Ma Gu was tending to the carriage. "Emicham, go ahead," nodded the elder doctor. As for Wei Zian, even if he had wanted to help, Lu Qing and the others would not have felt at ease letting him do so. Before long, Lu Qing returned with a bundle of firewood. Just as he got the fire going, the dark clouds that had been brewing in the sky finally started to release their rain. At first, it was just a few scattered drops, but soon it turned into a downpour, its ferocity startling Lu Qing and the others. "Thank goodness you knew of this temple, Master. Otherwise, if we were still on the road, we might have ended up completely drenched," Lu Qing said with some relief, as he watched the heavy curtain of rain that nearly obscured the view beyond 10 meters. Ma Gu and Wei Zian nodded in agreement. The carriage they were in, though specially made by the Wei family to withstand wind and rain, might not have held up under such a severe downpour. As for little Li, it had snuggled further into little Yan's embrace. It disliked the rain the most. "This rain is indeed rather heavy. It's the heaviest I have seen in years. As for this temple, I once had some acquaintance with its master. After he passed away, there was no one to take care of the place, and it gradually became deserted," the elder doctor said as he looked out at the deluge, his tone tinged with a hint of melancholy. Hearing this, Lu Qing felt a slight stir in his heart. Truth be told, he knew very little about his master's past. The master seldom mentioned it. This was a rare occasion that his master had spoken of bygone days. "Master, didn't this temple master have any disciples?" Lu Qing asked. "No," the elder doctor shook his head. "He lived a solitary life and never took on disciples. What about the temple master's martial arts cultivation? Was he very powerful?" Wei Zian also became curious. The elder doctor chuckled. "My friend only practiced some qi cultivation techniques to nourish the body and mind. He didn't achieve much in the way of martial arts. However, he was a man of high moral character, someone I have always greatly admired." Wei Zian and Ma Gu immediately showed a deep respect. In their eyes, the elder doctor's medical ethics were already rare in the world. Anyone he admired must be of a character worth venerating, undoubtedly a highly respectable figure. Only Lu Qing felt some skepticism about his master's words. He knew that when it came to martial arts, one could only believe half of what his master said. The old man always claimed to be of poor talent and not good at competing. But as it turned out, while not being good at competing was true, his talent was incredibly good. Otherwise, how could he have created nourishing body boxing, grasped the harmony of water and fire, and the realms of the innate domain? So, when he said that the temple master had no significant achievements in martial arts cultivation, it was probably an understatement. How could someone who survived alone in such a remote Taoist temple be an ordinary person? Unfortunately, the person had passed away, and they hadn't had the chance to meet him. As the group chatted idly, Lu Qing quickly made a pot of meat porridge and shared it with everyone. As for little Li, who didn't like to eat porridge, it had a large bowl of small dried fish to eat. This time, the Wei family had naturally prepared ample supplies for the trip. But Lu Qing's preparations were even more exaggerated, as he had a spiritual artifact like the Chenkuin Qi bag. Not to mention anything else, just the small dried fish that little Li ate, he had put in dozens of pounds. This was only because there wasn't enough time to buy more fish. Otherwise, he would have wanted to prepare over 100 pounds. Of course, Lu Qing wouldn't use the items in the Chenquan Qi bag unless it was necessary. These past few days, they had been using the supplies carried on the carriage and supplemented from the towns along the way. In the slightly cool rainy weather, a few sips of hot porridge made everyone feel comfortable. Brother Lu Qing, your cooking skills are truly outstanding. Even this simple salted pork porridge has been made so delicious by you, Ma Gu said, unable to help but give a thumbs up after drinking a large bowl of porridge. Wei Zian, who was slurping his porridge similarly, nodded vigorously in agreement. It's not that exaggerated. It's just that I added some homemade seasoning to the bacon, which made it taste a bit special for you, Lu Qing said with a smile. When traveling, it was naturally not suitable to carry fresh meat. So Lu Qing brought all the bacon stored at home. These pieces of bacon had been air-dried and smoked by him over the past 2 years when he was idle, and it came in handy for this trip. Lu Qing and the others were comfortably drinking hot porridge inside the temple, but the rain outside was getting heavier and heavier. Later on, it was as if a hole had opened in the sky. Rain poured down more and more violently. Watching the pillar-like streams of water from the eaves, Lu Qing and the others were somewhat alarmed. They feared that the main hall's roof might not hold and collapse, or that the water outside might backflow inside. Fortunately, although the main hall was somewhat old, it was indeed of good quality, and the location where it was built was also elevated. So, until the rain weakened later on, in the end, there was no collapse, and the water did not backflow, which relieved Lu Qing and the others. But the elder doctor was still worried. This rain is falling a bit too unusually. Lu Qing's heart stirred a bit. This was the first rain after the anomaly of heaven and earth, and such a fierce rain. Could it be an omen of something? The elder doctor seemed to have thought of this too, and after exchanging a glance with Lu Qing, the worry in his eyes deepened. The main hall fell into a silence. However, this silence did not last long. Just as Lu Qing was pondering the implications of this heavy rain, his expression suddenly changed. At the same time, little Li's ears perked up. After a few breaths, the elder doctor also raised his head. Only Ma Gu and Wei Zian were still oblivious to anything amiss. But it wasn't long before they too heard a noisy commotion coming from outside. Chapter 292. Something strange in the sky, cold and deadly aura. Quick! There's a Taoist temple ahead. Let's go there to take shelter from the rain. Xiao Rou. Hang in there for a bit longer. We found a place to shelter from the rain. Once we're inside the temple, we'll start a fire to warm up. You'll be all right. Amidst the noise, 5 or 6 people burst into the main hall, all completely soaked, carrying bundles on their shoulders, some even carrying weapons, clearly not ordinary folks. One of them was also carrying a young girl on his back. As the group entered the hall and saw that there were already people inside, they hesitated for a moment but soon didn't mind. After nodding to Lu Qing and his group, they hurriedly moved to the side and laid the girl down. But at this moment, the girl's condition did not look too good. Her face was pale, her lips a livid blue, her body trembling, and a faint smell of blood emanated from her. She had already fallen into a semi-comatose state. Xiao Rou, wake up! The middle-aged man who had carried her in shook her shoulders, trying to wake her. However, the girl only barely opened her eyes to look at him, whispered "Dad" slowly, and then passed out again. Xiao Rou, the middle-aged man exclaimed in shock, shaking the girl again, especially seeing that the girl's breathing was growing fainter. His eyes reddened with urgency. Master, what should we do? The others were also becoming anxious. Unfortunately, they had lost their luggage along the way and now had no medical supplies, completely unable to help. Sir, could you allow me, an elder doctor, to take a look? Just as everyone was extremely anxious, a gentle voice sounded. They looked up and saw a kindly and gentle old man standing before them. It was old Dr. Chen. In fact, the moment Elder Chen saw the girl, his expression had grown serious. Seeing that the group of middle-aged men seemed helpless after the girl had passed out, he couldn't hold back and said, "Who is the elder?" The middle-aged man asked hesitantly. I am a doctor, with some experience in treating diseases and injuries. Perhaps I can help, Elder Chan said kindly. You are a doctor? That's wonderful, the middle-aged man exclaimed joyfully, hastening to make room. Please, Elder, my daughter has been injured and has also been drenched in the heavy rain for a long time. She's now unconscious. I beg you to save her. I will be greatly thankful. Let me check on her first. Elder Chun bent down to take the girl's pulse, but as soon as his fingers touched her wrist, his expression changed. Ah Ching. Brew the medicine immediately. 1 dose of heart-protecting soup. Boil it fiercely, quickly. Little Yen. Fetch my medical box. Yes, master. Lu Qing, seeing his master's tone this urgent, knew the girl's condition was quite bad. Quickly took out herbs from his luggage. Little Yen also sensibly fetched Elder Chen's medical box at this time. The middle-aged men, seeing this scene, relaxed a lot in their hearts. Since they carried so many herbs and a medical box, clearly, the elder in front of them was indeed a doctor. Elder Chun took the medical box, retrieved a needle pouch from it. First, he inserted a few silver needles into the girl's body. Then he raised his head and said to the middle-aged man, Sir, your daughter's condition is not good. I must administer acupuncture immediately. Additionally, her wet clothes must also be changed. Who will help with this? The middle-aged man immediately said, Chen Lin, you help your junior sister change her clothes. Yes, master. A woman in her 20s stood up. However, her face also showed difficulty. Master, we've lost our luggage, and the packages are completely soaked by the rain. I fear there are no dry clothes left. The middle-aged man then looked back at Elder Chun helplessly. Elder Chun pondered for a moment and said, We do have clean clothes, but they are men's clothes. I'm not sure if that's appropriate. In Lu Qing's group, aside from Little Yen, the rest were all grown men, naturally not having young women's clothes. Rough it out, river and lakes folk aren't particular. Please lend us a few sets of clothes. I can pay for them. The middle-aged man immediately said so. Help those in urgent need. No need to be so polite. Zian, fetch a few sets of clean clothes over. Yes. Wei Zian quickly brought the clothes, and the woman named Chen Lin, carrying the girl, followed Elder Chun to the inner part of the great hall. Even Little Yen was called in by Elder Chun to help. Seeing this, the middle-aged man finally put his heart at ease. Elder Chun was old enough to be his grandfather, and with a little girl there, obviously, there was no ill intent towards his daughter. Little Yen, go help. Clean this elder sister's body and change her clothes. Elder Chun took the silver needles previously inserted into the girl's body, turned his back, and instructed. Okay. Little Yen obediently responded. The woman named Chen Lin, seeing Little Yan's petite body, initially wanted to refuse, but alone, she found it difficult to dress her unconscious junior sister, so ultimately she acquiesced. Then, when Little Yen truly helped, the woman was surprised. This little girl looked small, but she was quite strong. With her help, she very easily changed the junior sister's clothes. After the girl was dressed, Elder Chun then turned around, took out the silver needles, and began to formally administer the acupuncture. Chapter 293. Elder Dr. Chun was a master of medicine with unparalleled experience. His skill in locating acupuncture points was also extraordinarily accurate. Even through clothing, he was still able to place needles with remarkable precision. Shortly after he applied a set of acupuncture techniques, the young girl's breathing finally stabilized, and a touch of color returned to her pale face. After finishing the acupuncture, Elder Dr. Chun continued to take the girl's pulse, but his expression grew increasingly grave. Seeing this, the woman named Chen Lin became terrified, almost unable to resist asking about her junior sister's condition. Master, the medicine is ready. Fortunately, at that moment, Lu Qing's voice rang from outside, softening Elder Dr. Chen's countenance. Bring it in. After Elder Dr. Chun had administered the medicine to the girl and came out of the back hall with Little Yen, the middle-aged men immediately came forward to greet him. Elder sir, how is my daughter doing? Thankfully you arrived in time. Your beloved's condition has been stabilized for now, and her wounds have been treated with antiseptic medicine. However, she still needs observation and 2 more doses of medication, Elder Dr. Chan said. Can I go in and see her? You may, but it is best not to have too many people go in at once. Hearing this, the middle-aged man immediately said, Sure, you and the others wait outside for now. I will go in and see our junior sister. Once the middle-aged man saw his daughter and confirmed that she indeed looked much better, he came out to Elder Dr. Chan, bowed deeply and gave a grand salute. Thank you, Elder Sir, for saving my daughter's life. I, Fong Tao, will keep your kindness in mind and never forget it. The middle-aged man remembered how his daughter had looked earlier and was truly frightened. Her breath had been as thin as a thread, and he nearly thought she was going to perish. There's no need for such courtesy. Treating the ill and saving lives is simply our duty as doctors, Elder Dr. Chan said gently. However, sir, may I also take your pulse? Us too. The middle-aged man was surprised. He didn't feel anything was wrong with his health. Although the rain was heavy, his cultivation was strong enough that he wouldn't fall ill from a little rain. Sir, do not think that because your chi blood is vigorous you can ward off everything. It is known that ailments often start from trivial issues, sometimes without the individual even noticing, Elder Dr. Chan said somewhat seriously. Hearing this and remembering Elder Dr. Chen's previously demonstrated medical skill, the middle-aged man found it very reasonable. He immediately extended his hand. Then I am in your care, Elder Sir. Elder Dr. Chen put 2 fingers lightly on his wrist. At the same time, a thread of innate true chi quietly probed into the middle-aged man's body. After a long moment, Elder Dr. Chen withdrew his true chi, his expression unchanged. Would you allow your disciples to also have their pulses checked? Having allowed Elder Dr. Chen to check on himself, the middle-aged man naturally would not refuse. Immediately he called out, Sure. All of you come over. Let the elder doctor take your pulses to see if you've caught a chill. Yes. The 3 male disciples of the middle-aged man walked over promptly. Elder Dr. Chen took each of their pulses in turn. Nearby, Lu Qing noticed that his master's actions today seemed somewhat odd. Still, he had already used his superpower to check these people's identities. Finding no significant issues, nor were they evil people, he decided to ask his master about it later. How is it, Elder Sir? Once Elder Dr. Chen had taken everyone's pulse, the middle-aged man asked. Luckily, all of you are in good health. There's just a slight invasion of cold, and a bowl of soup to dispel the chill will suffice. Elder Dr. Chen replied with a smile. Ah, Qing. Later you prepare some ginger soup for these gentlemen to drink. Yes, master, Lu Qing answered. Then we are much obliged to you, Elder Sir. The middle-aged man said hurriedly, also giving a bow to Lu Qing. Troubling you, young master. They all had indeed been soaked in the rain and needed something hot to warm up their bodies. It's a minor matter. By the way, may I have the honor of knowing your name, sir? Elder Dr. Chen said. My surname is Fong with a single given name, Tao, as in the Tao of clay figurines. May I ask for your honorable name, Elder Sir? The middle-aged man asked respectfully. My surname is Chun. You can simply call me Dr. Chun. The elder doctor chatted with Fong Tao for a while, and Lu Qing had also finished preparing the ginger soup. Knowing that Fong Tao and his group had lost their luggage along the way, he then simmered another pot of hot porridge and served it to everyone to drink. Seeing Lu Qing's considerate gesture, Fong Tao and his companions felt even more grateful. Having rushed about in the rain for a long time, they were famished and immediately slurped down the porridge with gusto. Then, they all began to marvel in surprise. Young Master Lu, what did you put in this porridge? It is truly delicious, exclaimed the tall and robust young man Fong Tao addressed as Deshur, unable to help raising his voice. It's just some homemade salted pork, nothing precious, Lu Qing replied with a smile. To think that in this remote Taoist temple, we could enjoy such delicious meat porridge. Young master, your porridge-making skill is outstanding, Fong Tao also praised. As for the other disciples, They were so immersed in drinking the porridge that they couldn't even lift their heads. Because of this meal of meat porridge, the mood between the two parties warmed significantly, and laughter abounded. Time slowly passed by as everyone chatted idly. Although the rainfall outside had lessened a bit, it did not stop, continuing to pour down until nightfall. In the meantime, the elder doctor went to check on the young girl several times, administering another dose of herbal medicine to her. Lord Fong, your beloved daughter's health is no longer in danger. She will probably wake up tomorrow morning. As long as she rests quietly in the coming days, her recovery should not be a problem, the elder doctor said. Thank you, old Dr. Chun, Fong Tao exclaimed joyfully. All right, it's getting late. We have traveled for the entire day and should rest now. If your daughter experiences any discomfort during the night, Lord Fong, you may come and call for me. Old Dr. Chun, please take care. After the elder doctor left, Ma Gu came in carrying a quilt. Lord Fong, this quilt was specially allocated by my master for Miss Fong to cover with. He said that since Miss Fong is ill and has caught a chill, she should not get cold again at night. Unfortunately, we don't have enough quilts to offer more to the rest of you. Please understand. On this trip, Lu Qing and his companions had their identities concealed, among which Ma Gu's role was that of a coachman. Therefore, in the presence of outsiders, he would always address the elder doctor as the master. That's sufficient, that's sufficient. Please convey my thanks to Elder Chan after you return, said Fong Tao, surprised and filled with gratitude at the sight of the quilt. He was worried about how he would keep his daughter warm during the chilly night. This quilt was like timely aid amidst the snow. As for him and the other few disciples, they were robust and strong, and staying up for one night was not much of an issue. While Fong Tao was laying out the quilt for his daughter, on the other side of the main hall, behind a curtain, Lu Qing was sitting opposite the elder doctor. A peculiar sense of significance emanated from the elder doctor, enveloping the space within 2 meters around the two of them. Master, when you took the pulses of Lord Fong and his disciples earlier, did you notice anything wrong with them? Lu Qing asked. Strangely, his voice did not carry beyond the two of them and was confined to their vicinity, not even reaching Wei Zian and Ma Gu who were nearby. Indeed, I found a trace of cold and evil qi within them, particularly that injured Miss Fong, in whom it was deeply rooted. The elder doctor nodded and said, Cold and evil qi? Lu Qing was startled. Yes, by all accounts, they have only been caught in a rainstorm and at most would have contracted a cold. But now they've been invaded by cold and evil qi, which I'm afraid is not a good omen, expressed the elder doctor with a somber look. Lu Qing's thoughts stirred. Master, do you suspect that today's rain was unusual from the start? Now, with cold and evil qi invading human bodies, I am afraid that it's quite out of the ordinary, the elder doctor said. Ah Qing, you once said that a great change was nearing, and that spiritual energy would recover. But, looking at today's rain, I fear that with the changes in the heaven and earth rules, not only will spiritual energy recover, but other things may also awaken. Lu Qing fell into silence. What his master mentioned wasn't implausible. After all, his understanding of the spiritual energy recovery came from the essays of the Carefree Wanderer. But the Carefree Wanderer had not experienced a spiritual energy recovery himself, so no one knew the specifics of what might change after the transformation of heaven and earth rules. At least from today's reign, it appeared to be more than merely a recovery of spiritual energy. Lu Qing also thought of the early signs of heaven and earth sensed by his master before, and a sense of heaviness inevitably crept into his heart. For a moment, both master and disciple became enveloped in silence. Chapter 294. The Inside Story and Confession. Master, I see that Miss Fong Ro's injuries are not simple. They seem to be caused by a knife wound. Moreover, that Lord Fong Tao has profound cultivation, having reached the realm of internal organs small success. Whoever injured them must be no ordinary person. After a moment of silence, Lu Qing said, His superpower allowed him to see through the information of all things in the world. However, the information he gleaned was not infinite and came with a certain level of randomness. Just like this time, He couldn't discern the cause of Miss Fong Ro's injuries from Lord Fong Tao and the others. Whoever it may be, as doctors, we've always focused solely on treating diseases and saving people. As for feuds and grudges, it's best to stay out of them if possible, the elder doctor said. Disciple understands. Lu Qing nodded. He felt the unique aura enveloping the surroundings and could not help but praise. Master, your innate domain is truly marvelous. I wonder when I'll be able to reach such a realm. Quit your flattery. Your talent far exceeds mine, and with the revival of spiritual energy imminent, it probably won't be long before you catch up to my realm. Elder Dr. Chan chided with a laugh. Lu Qing's cultivation talent was very clear to him. He even began to suspect that his disciple's delay in entering the innate realm was not because of an inability to break through, but a deliberate choice. Otherwise, it made no sense that he had only taken a few months to progress from barefoot beginner to stepping into the internal organ realm. It was unreasonable that after 2 years, he couldn't even break through into the innate realm. Nevertheless, Elder Dr. Chun knew that Lu Qing always had his own plans regarding cultivation, so he had not inquired further. After the master and disciple chatted for a while, they each went to sleep. As for little Yen, she had already fallen asleep holding little Li, and Wei Zian was also asleep. Ma Gu was responsible for keeping watch during the night, and it would be Lu Qing's turn to relieve him in the latter half of the night. After all, caution was necessary. When traveling, one must always be careful. While Lu Qing and the others lay down to rest, Lord Fong Tao and his people were also whispering in the main hall. Master, now that we're trapped here by the heavy rain, with our junior sister seriously ill and unconscious, what should we do if the people from the Flowing Clouds sect catch up? The disciple named Deshur whispered. They probably won't. Fong Tao pondered for a moment before replying. Our escape route was quite secluded, and the heavy rain has washed away all our tracks. It won't be easy for the Flowing Cloud sect to find us. That Flowing Cloud sect is really despicable. Our manor has offered them so much money every year, yet they turned on us at the drop of a hat. That damn young sect master even wanted to snatch our junior sister to be his concubine. Master, why didn't you let me chop him down then? Deshur said indignantly. If we had killed that young sect master, we would have been doomed without any chance of escape. Fong Tao sighed. The Flowing Cloud sect is domineering with an innate ancestor at the helm. That young sect master is also the only great-grandson of the Flowing Cloud sect's innate ancestor. If he had died, in the rage of the Flowing Cloud sect, I fear there would be no place in this vast world for us. But now, even without killing the young sect master, we are still being hunted by the Flowing Cloud sect. What's the difference, master? Deshur asked, puzzled. Without a blood feud, there's still room for negotiation. I have some old connections with an elder of the Guiyuan sect in Qing province. As long as we can escape to Qing province and pay the price to plead with the Guiyuan sect to mediate, we might be able to turn enmity into friendship with the Flowing Cloud sect. Deshur remained silent. Remembering the young sect master's face that day, he wondered if his master was being overly optimistic. Given the vengeful nature of that brat, after suffering such a loss, would he really be willing to reconcile with them? In his view, it might have been better to have killed that scum that day. Even if they all died in the end, at least they would have taken someone down with them. Thinking of the scene where retainers and servants in the manor were brutally killed by the disciples of the Flowing Cloud sect, Deshur felt a surge of rage in his heart. If he had been strong enough, he would have liked nothing more than to storm the Flowing Cloud sect alone to avenge those familiar guards. But this was the master's decision, and as a disciple, even if he felt unwilling, he could only comply. However, this is just my hope, Fong Tao added. If we are caught by the people from the Flowing Cloud sect before reaching Qing province, then we'll have no choice but to fight for our lives. Deshur, if the Flowing Cloud sect comes to the temple in the next 2 days, remember to distance ourselves from old Dr. Chan and the others. They've been kind to us, and we mustn't repay kindness with ingratitude. Of course, master. But what if the Flowing Cloud sect insists on targeting old Dr. Chan and the others? Deshur asked. Deshur couldn't forget how ruthless and unreasonable the pursuers had been. Fong Tao was startled and then clenched his teeth. Then we'll fight them, to give old Dr. Chan and the others a chance to escape. Lying on the ground with his eyes closed, pretending to doze off, Lu Qing's mouth curled into a slight smile. The voices of Fong Tao and his group, though low, were like loud whispers in front of someone like Lu Qing with his advanced martial arts skills. After hearing that Fong Tao and his group truly harbored no ill intentions, Lu Qing fell asleep at ease. The night passed without any particular incident. All was peaceful. There were no anomalies with Lord Fong Tao's daughter, and she didn't come to disturb Lu Qing and the others in the middle of the night. Since Lu Qing was responsible for keeping watch in the latter part of the night, he also had the chance to prepare breakfast early, so when everyone woke up, they were greeted with an aroma wafting through the air. Chapter 295. Young Master Lu, you're up so early? Fong Tao was surprised to see Lu Qing busily engaged in his tasks. It's a habit, Lu Qing smiled. Just in time, Sect Master Fong. I have also prepared your portion of the morning meal as well as this medicinal kanji, intended for Miss Fong. I expect she will probably wake up soon. Really? A surge of joy filled Fong Tao's heart. Just as he was about to inquire further, the girl named Chen Lin ran out from the main hall. Master, junior sister has awoken. Xiao Rou is truly awake? Fong Tao was greatly surprised. His delight at the awakening of his daughter mixed with astonishment at Lu Qing's accurate prediction. Young Master Lu, please forgive my abrupt departure. Hold on, Sect Master Fong. Now that your beloved daughter has awakened, it would be ideal for you to bring in this bowl of medicinal kanji. She has just recovered from a serious illness. Her body is weak, and it is precisely the time for her to replenish her nutrients. Lu Qing brought over a bowl of medicinal kanji. Thank you, young Master Lu. Gratefully taking the medicinal kanji, Fong Tao hurriedly made his way into the main hall. There he saw his daughter sitting up weakly. Father! As Fong Tao entered, Fong Rou called out feebly. Xiao Rou, you're awake. How do you feel now? Fong Tao quickly approached to ask. I feel much better, father. Where are we now? Upon hearing his daughter's words, Fong Tao realized that she had no recollection of their earlier ordeal, which was to be expected. She had been semi-conscious before they arrived at the Taoist temple, and not remembering was natural. We are currently in an unnamed Taoist temple. You were injured before and had cold energies invading your body. The situation was very critical. Fortunately, old Dr. Chun, who was also taking shelter from the rain here in the temple, stepped in to help and saved your life, turning danger into safety. Fong Tao explained to his daughter. And the clothes on my body. A hint of blush appeared on Fong Rou's face. When she had just awoken, she had noticed that the clothes she wore were not her own and seemed to be men's clothing. But before she could ask about it, her senior sister had excitedly run straight out to inform her father. The clothes that you're wearing were also lent to us by old Dr. Chun and his group. They are men, so there were only men's clothes available. Don't worry, though, your senior sister is the one who changed you into them. Fong Rou, relieved upon hearing this, said, It seems then that this old Dr. Chun really is greatly indebted to me. I must personally thank him. There's no rush. Later, when old Dr. Chun and the others wake up, Father will accompany you to express our gratitude. Fong Rou responded softly. Then suddenly, she caught a whiff of a very special aroma. Her gaze searched around, realizing that it was coming from the bowl in her father's hands. Father, what are you holding? It smells so good. Fong Rou's throat contracted slightly. She hadn't eaten a single grain of rice since the previous day, and although she hadn't felt it before, now, with the aroma tantalizing her senses, she was suddenly overwhelmed by hunger. Oh, I almost forgot. This bowl is a medicinal kanji specially made for you by Elder Chen's disciple, young Master Lu. He said you would likely wake up this morning, and just as we were discussing it outside, you did. It's truly as if he's got a divine insight. Fong Tao handed over the medicinal kanji to his daughter. Xiao Rou, you haven't eaten for almost 2 days. Hurry up and drink this kanji while it's hot. Medicinal kanji? Fong Ro was somewhat surprised as she looked at the kanji in the bowl. In her memory, anything related to medicine was invariably both bitter and difficult to drink. Yet this medicinal kanji smelled so fragrant, it was indeed strange. With curiosity, Fong Ro scooped a spoon of the kanji into her mouth to taste it, and almost immediately, her eyes lit up, and she began to consume the kanji spoon by spoon. Seeing this, Fong Tao knew the taste of the kanji must be agreeable to his daughter's palate, and he was put at ease. Before long, Fong Ro had finished the entire bowl, somewhat reluctantly passing the bowl back to her father. She felt that she could probably drink a few more bowls, but she also knew that since she was still ill, she should not overeat. Master, old Dr. Chun has arrived. Fong Tao had just taken the bowl when she heard her disciple Deshur reporting. Please invite him in quickly, Fong Tao urged. Miss Fong, I heard your beloved daughter has awakened, so I came to see how she is doing, the elder doctor said with a smile upon entering. Indeed, my daughter just woke up not long ago and drank a bowl of medicinal kanji prepared by young Master Lu. May I ask old Dr. Chun to see if her health is now without trouble? Let me check her pulse first. The elder doctor approached Fong Ro, and the young girl, seeing the kindly-faced and mild-mannered old man, instinctively felt a sense of warmth and extended her hand without thinking. With 2 fingers resting on the girl's wrist, the elder doctor carefully sensed for a moment before withdrawing his hand. Congratulations, Miss Fong. The coldness in your daughter's body has mostly been cleared, and the wound on her shoulder is also beginning to heal. From now on, with rest and proper care, she should recover without issue. Thank you, old Dr. Chun. Hearing this, Fong Tao finally let the heavy weight in his heart drop and bowed deeply to old Dr. Chun in gratitude. Thank you, elder doctor, for saving my life. Fong Ro, too, tried to get up and express her thanks but was gently pushed back down by the elder doctor. No need for such formalities. You've just started to get better. You need to rest more and move less. Then he added, Miss Fong, my disciple has prepared some breakfast. If it's not too much trouble, you and the others are welcome to join us. Fong Tao and his disciples were naturally very grateful, and soon, everyone gathered around the fire to start their meal. The breakfast that Lu Qing prepared was quite simple, consisting of a large pot of cured meat rice and a jar of wild vegetable soup. However, Fong Tao and his disciples still found it very satisfying. Not only because Lu Qing's cooking was excellent and the food was delicious, but more so because, in the face of imminent life and death threats, being able to have a warm meal and hot soup was already a rare blessing. Elder Doctor, judging by the rain, I'm afraid it will continue for another day or 2. Do you have any plans? After finishing breakfast, Fong Tao inquired. What else can we do? Our carriage isn't suitable for travel in this rain, so we can only wait until the rain stops before we leave, the elder doctor replied. Fong Tao wasn't sure whether to be relieved or worried upon hearing this. Frankly, if the elder doctor and his party insisted on braving the rain, that would not be good news for them. His daughter's injury and illness meant that she couldn't afford to get wet and catch a chill for the time being. If they were forced to stay in this secluded Taoist temple, the days ahead would likely become much harder. At the same time, if the elder doctor and his party continued to stay, no one could guarantee when the Flowing Cloud sect might catch up to them. If the elder doctor and others were implicated by their presence, Fong Tao feared he would be forever burdened with guilt. Caught between self-interest and moral principles, Fong Tao found himself uncertain about what to do. After some thought, Fong Tao decided that, given the downpour from the previous day, it was unlikely that the Flowing Cloud sect would continue their pursuit before the rain ceased. Thus, he chose to keep the truth hidden for now. If that's the case, then I'm afraid we'll have to trouble the elder doctor for some time to come. I have some gold leaves here. They're not much, but please accept them as a small token of my gratitude. Fong Tao said as he drew a small bundle of gold leaves from his breast and handed them to the elder doctor. The elder doctor looked at the stack of gold leaves, which must have weighed several ounces, smiled, and merely took a single leaf from it. This many really isn't necessary. The consultation fee and medicine costs are more than covered by this single gold leaf. Please take the rest back, Miss Fong. But Elder Doctor. Fong Tao started to say something but saw the Elder Doctor already shaking his head lightly. Miss Fong, as doctors, we save lives following our conscience, not for the sake of accumulating wealth. Seeing the Elder Doctor insist, Fong Tao reluctantly took back the remaining gold leaves. In his heart, his respect for the Elder Doctor grew even more, and so did his sense of guilt. With a conflicted expression, Fong Tao finally decided to come clean. Old Dr. Chun, there's something I must explain to you. Chapter 296. The Rhythm of the Spiritual Pearl, Leisure Time. Old Dr. Chun, to speak frankly, my disciple and I are not merely traveling. In truth, we are being pursued and hunted down. Fong Tao relayed their plight truthfully to old Dr. Chun. Old Dr. Chun, I honestly don't know when those disciples from the Flowing Cloud sect might catch up to us. But they are not kind-hearted people, and if they come to this Taoist temple, I fear they might implicate you and the others. Thus, if possible, it might be better for you and the others to leave sooner rather than later. I had no idea, Estate Master Fong, that you had been through such a traumatic ordeal. However, with the wind howling and the rain pouring heavily outside, the roads are flooded and muddy. Our carriage would have a hard time traveling, and even if we left now, we wouldn't get very far. Moreover, since we've come, we may as well stay. Given that the Flowing Cloud sect is a major force in Yunzhou, I'd like to think that they would not be so unreasonable. We have no grudge with them, and even if they indeed follow through here, it wouldn't make sense for them to take it out on us. You need not worry, Estate Master. After listening to Fong Tao's explanation, the Elder Doctor did not show a hint of panic, but instead spoke words of comfort. De Shi, who was standing by, couldn't help but say, Old Dr. Chun, you don't understand. Although the Flowing Cloud sect claims to be a righteous sect, their conduct is extremely domineering. In Yunzhou, any family or minor force that slightly displeases them might get beaten as a warning, or worse, they might be robbed and annexed. You really shouldn't hold too much hope for their character. Is the Flowing Cloud sect so overbearing that there are no other sects in Yunzhou that can check them? Lu Qing asked, curious. Fong Tao sighed. In Yunzhou, there are 3 top-tier sects, and among them, the Flowing Cloud sect has the strongest power. It is said that there are more than 1 innate realm patriarchs within the sect. So even if their actions are domineering, other forces can't do anything against them. I see. Lu Qing nodded. So, old Dr. Chun, I'm afraid that offending the Flowing Cloud sect might embroil you as well, and I hope you will be more careful, Fong Tao said once again with sincerity. All right, we will set out and leave after the rain stops. The Elder Doctor agreed with a nod. Fong Tao's mouth opened slightly. He had hoped that the Elder Doctor would leave earlier. But looking at the weather outside, he felt that was unrealistic. It wouldn't be appropriate to send his benefactors out into the storm. So, in the end, he closed his mouth and stared out at the sky with a look of deep concern. Ma Gu found humor in the situation. These people had no idea how formidable the individual before them truly was. It was no wonder, after all, as Lu Qing and the Elder Doctor's skills in concealing their presence were incredible. Both were only showing the cultivation level of someone in the Qi blood realm. Among their company, the most powerful on the surface were only he with his muscle bone realm great success, and Xian with his muscle bone realm small success. Such strength was nothing to a major sect, so Fong Tao's worry was understandable. However, this Fong Tao seemed decent, not one to repay kindness with ingratitude. Helping them was not in vain. Because of Fong Tao and others' silence, the atmosphere in the Great Hall became somewhat oppressive. However, Little Yen and Little Li didn't share these worries and, feeling bored and with Lu Qing's permission, they took out beast fighting chess from their luggage and started playing. The Elder Doctor also took out a medical classic and began to read leisurely. Even Lu Qing and Ma Gu were busy with their own things. For example, Lu Qing immersed his heart and spirit into the spiritual cavity between his eyebrows and silently began refining the Earth Spirit Pearl. Although he had previously left the imprint of his heart and spirit within the Earth Spirit Pearl, making it recognize him as its master, he was still far from complete control and still needed to consecrate continually with his heart and spirit. Moreover, as an earth element treasure, the earth spirit pearl inherently possessed Taoist charm. During the refining process, he was also perceiving these charms. Lu Qing had an intuition that if he could comprehend even a small portion of their principles, it would be enormously beneficial for him. And so, after Lu Qing and others stopped speaking, the great hall finally became utterly quiet. However, the clear, rhythmic sound of chess pieces quickly caught the attention of Fang Tao and the others. Initially, they thought Lu Qing and his company were playing chess, but when they turned around, they saw little Yen and a small black beast sitting opposite each other, earnestly engaged in the game, and their mouths slowly fell open in surprise. They had some impression of the small black beast, little Li, as it was often seen nestled in little Yan's arms. But they had thought it was merely a pet. After all, based on their attire, old Dr. Chun and his company did not seem like ordinary folk. It was not unusual for a family of means to keep a pet. But now, seeing little Li sincerely playing chess with little Yen threw Fang Tao and his companions into disarray. A chess-playing little beast? They had neither seen nor heard of such a thing. Do not take offense, esteemed guests. Little Li has been little Yan's playmate since childhood. They're used to frolicking together. If they're disturbing you, I'll ask them to quiet down, said the elder doctor, who was reading a medical book when he looked up and noticed the astonished expressions of Fang Tao and the others. No trouble at all. Fang Tao quickly waved his hands. Yet he couldn't hide his intense curiosity. Elder Dr. Chun, can this beast truly play chess? Her name is Little Li, and due to her high spiritual wisdom, she's picked up some of our human ways by being immersed in them, the elder doctor explained. Fang Tao and his companions were immediately filled with amazement. They had never expected a little beast to possess such high spiritual wisdom. Legends tell of spiritual monkeys in the famous mountains that can communicate with humans. This little black beast must be no less capable. Curiosity getting the better of them, they unconsciously moved closer to little Yen and little Li to watch the chess game. And after a few glances, they were surprised yet again. They realized the game little Yen and little Li were playing was a version of chess they had never seen before. Miss Little Yen, what kind of chess is this, with tigers and mice and such? Asked Dashur after watching for a while, unable to hold back his question any longer. Beast fighting chess. It's really fun. Little Yen happily replied, then casually made a move that took one of little Li's leopards. The small black beast's eyes suddenly bulged, looking shocked by the unexpected move. Beast fighting chess? Fang Tao and the others grew even more perplexed, as they had never heard of this kind of chess. This is a pastime my disciple invented when bored. It has simple rules and is meant for little Yen and the others for fun. It's not a game for prestigious events. I apologize if it seems ridiculous, the elder doctor said with a chuckle. I see. Fang Tao watched a little longer and indeed found that this beast-fighting chess had straightforward rules. It was a simple case of the strong preying on the weak, and they could understand it without much effort. No wonder even an unusual creature like the little black beast could learn it. The game was indeed simple. Fang Tao chuckled and shook his head. He had been quite startled at first, thinking that little Li could play complex and profound chess games. If that were the case, the beast's intelligence would be frightening. Despite its simplicity, beast-fighting chess was intriguing for Dashur and the other youngsters, who devoted most of their time to martial arts training and had little exposure to entertainment. This novel game captivated them immensely, while Lu Qing and the rest were leisurely waiting for the rain to stop in the Taoist temple. Hundreds of miles away, in a dim cave, a disheveled figure was staring at the scattered stones in front of him, descending into madness. Chapter 297. Mist, heaven and earth transform, spiritual energy emerges. Why can't the calculations figure it out? Disheveled, staring at the stones scattered on an odd array before him, madness flashed in his eyes. Why can't my divination techniques determine the whereabouts of that Lu Qing and his companions? Even though the heaven and earth laws are changing, they haven't completely changed yet. At most, they should only confuse ordinary prediction master's senses. By reason, they shouldn't be able to block my heart demon divination. Feeling baffled, He looked toward the still heavy rain outside the cave and suddenly had an epiphany. Is it because of this chill rain that their tracks have been completely concealed? Indeed worthy of being a child of fate, allowing nature itself to shield you and conceal your aura, Lu Qing. The fate on you is so rich it makes one envious. However, the more it is so, the more valuable you are to me. I really can't wait to devour you. A terrifying glint appeared in the disheveled figure's eyes. He had an intuition that if he could devour that youth called Lu Qing and strip his fate, it might prove more useful than consuming 100 young geniuses. Then, he would become the most fated person at the beginning of the spiritual energy recovery era. Wait for it, Lu Qing, you can't escape my grasp. Since I can't find your trace, I'll just go directly to Central State to wait for you. I don't believe this heavenly fate can protect you all the time. I've killed children of fate before, after all. A sinister and ruthless voice echoed from within the cave, and the next moment, the disheveled figure had vanished from the cave. He didn't know how long the chill rain would last, but he couldn't wait any longer. In case Lu Qing reached Central State before him, it would take a lot of effort to find him. The disheveled figure dashed quickly through the rain. A strange aura emanated from him, keeping the indescribable chill of the rain at bay. Though the chill was troublesome, as the heaven and earth had just begun changing, both spiritual energy and evil chi were still too weak to bother someone as powerful as him. The disheveled figure sprinted all the way toward Central State. Passing through towns along the way, he did not stop but pressed forward directly. Soon he had crossed a stretch of forest, but he was unaware of it and continued on his way. Lu Qing, who was in the midst of refining the Earth Spirit Pearl, felt a disturbance in his heart and spirit and suddenly opened his eyes. At the same time, the elder doctor, who was reading a medical book, also looked up. Little Li's ears twitched too. Seeing Lu Qing unmoved, it did not matter and continued to play chess with little Yen. The Divine Soul Talisman in the center of Lu Qing's brow trembled slightly, and the scope of Divine Soul sensing suddenly expanded outward. However, it turned up nothing. A trace of confusion appeared in his eyes. Just now, while immersed in refining the Earth Spirit Pearl, he suddenly sensed an extremely evil presence that flashed across the edge of his Divine Soul sensing. But when he tried to sense it carefully, that presence had already vanished. Seeing his master's expression, he knew he likely hadn't found the reason for that presence either. After pondering for a while and failing to understand, and since the presence did not reappear, Lu Qing decided to let it go for now. Yet he was inwardly on high alert. Even though that presence wasn't very strong, its degree of evil was among the worst he had encountered. He recalled the words of Mr. Ji Rue from the Tianji building, with a great upheaval, devils abound. Could it be that the presence just now was one of them? Unfortunately, since he was focused on refining the Earth Spirit Pearl, he couldn't capture that presence immediately. Otherwise, he would have gone out to investigate. The rain continued for 3 days before finally stopping completely. During these 3 days, no one had come searching for them at the Taoist Abbey, which allowed Feng Tao and the others to truly relax. They knew that the people from the Flowing Cloud sect must have been blocked by the heavy rain and temporarily lost track of them. On the 4th morning, sunlight streamed in from outside, bringing great surprise to Lu Qing and the others. The rain had stopped, which meant they no longer had to be confined in the Taoist Abbey and could begin their journey. Old Dr. Chun, young Master Lu, the rain has finally stopped. I think it's time for us to part ways. At this moment, Feng Tao, accompanied by his daughter and disciples, came over. Thank you, Elder Doctor and Mr. Lu, for your healing grace. Xiao Rou is indebted and can only keep this kindness in her heart for future reciprocation. Feng Rou bowed deeply to old Dr. Chun and Lu Qing. During these 3 days, under the elder doctor's acupuncture and Lu Qing's medicinal meals, Feng Rou's condition had rapidly improved. Not only were her injuries mostly healed, but she was also able to get out of bed and walk. She was still a bit weak but no longer severely hindered. No need for such formalities. Elder Dr. Chun helped her up. That you've recovered so quickly is also due to your own good constitution. Otherwise, even the best medicine stone would not have been effective so quickly. However, remember, for the upcoming days, you shouldn't engage in combat and will need some more time to recover completely. Yes, Xiao Rou will remember. Feng Rou obediently responded. Old Dr. Chun, since we indeed have troubles to face, let's part here. These past few days we were greatly aided by your efforts. This kindness, Feng will never forget and will surely repay generously given the opportunity. Chapter 298. Feng Tao clasped his hands together. Although the people from the Flowing Cloud sect hadn't followed them in the past few days, he still didn't let his guard down. Now that the rain had stopped, it was a good opportunity to travel. Only when they entered Qing province would they truly be able to breathe a sigh of relief. Elder Feng, take care. The elder doctor nodded in farewell. Sister Feng, goodbye. Little Yen saw that Feng Rou and the others were leaving, so she came over to say goodbye. These past few days, she occasionally went to play with this sister, and they had developed some affection for each other. Little Yen, goodbye. Amidst the reluctant farewells, the figures of Feng Tao and his companions gradually disappeared. Master, should we also set off now? Lu Qing asked at this time. We've been delayed here for a few days. It's indeed time to depart. The elder doctor nodded. I'll go get ready. Ma Gu walked out. Once Ma Gu had harnessed the horses to the carriage and Lu Qing and the others had packed their belongings. Stepping out of the main hall and standing outside, Lu Qing's expression shifted as he looked towards his master. Master, the energy of the heavens and earth seems to have changed somewhat. It has indeed changed, the elder doctor said, somewhat astonished. Indeed, elder doctor. I don't know if it's because it just rained, but today's air feels especially fresh and pleasant, Ma Gu added. All right, let's get on the carriage and then talk, the elder doctor said while carrying his belongings and stepping into the carriage. Giddy up. After Lu Qing and the others boarded, Ma Gu called out and flicked the reins. The carriage gently set off and headed down the mountain. Sitting cross-legged in the carriage, Lu Qing's divine soul power quietly reached out, sensing the space around him. He then felt that the world indeed contained a vague and indescribable will, which had become more vibrant and full of life. Is this spiritual energy? Lu Qing's divine soul power, sensing that faint breath of will, had an epiphany. Yet this breath was still very weak and its impact on the world wasn't significant. Martial artists with weaker cultivation wouldn't be able to detect these changes. Only powerful cultivators like Lu Qing and the elder doctor, who had sufficiently strong divine soul power, could perceive the intricacies within. However, that was all they could do. They were not yet able to absorb and refine this mysterious energy. Lu Qing's qi acupoints were not opened, preventing him from inducing energy into his body. As for the elder doctor, he didn't possess the cultivation method necessary to refine this mysterious energy. Now that the spiritual energy has truly started to awaken, perhaps I should find an opportunity to teach a qi refining method to master. Lu Qing thought silently. His master was an innate realm expert whose qi acupoints had long been opened. In the path of cultivation, to be a step ahead was to be steps ahead. If he could master the method of refining spirit energy, perhaps his cultivation could take a qualitative leap. While Lu Qing was considering this, suddenly, his heart and spirit sensed a slight disturbance. Upon probing, he discovered that the disturbance came from the Chenkuan Qi bag at his waist. Do you want to absorb this world's spiritual energy? Lu Qing felt the vibrations from the Chenkuan Qi bag and was surprised. But he quickly understood. Indeed, his qi acupoints were not opened, so he temporarily couldn't absorb and refine spiritual energy. But being a spiritual artifact, the Chenkuan Qi bag didn't have such limitations. Immediately, Lu Qing's will stirred slightly, activating the restrictions within the Chenkuan Qi bag. Suddenly, an invisible suction emerged from the Chenkuan Qi bag, drawing the strands of extraordinary energy from the surrounding world into the bag. Inside the carriage, the elder doctor, who was also sitting cross-legged and closed-eyed, sensing the changes of the world, noticed this pull and opened his eyes. However, When he realized that this change was emanating from Lu Qing, he simply smiled faintly and no longer paid attention, closing his eyes again to sense the world. He had long become accustomed to the extraordinary events that often occurred around Lu Qing. Regarding these events, he never probed, unless Lu Qing took the initiative to explain. Otherwise, he wouldn't even ask, because Lu Qing and the elder doctor were both immersed in their cultivation. The horse carriage thus advanced quietly and slowly. Several days of heavy rain did not turn the road muddy. Instead, thanks to the rainwater washing over it, the road appeared quite clean. Aside from the soft and rotten surface, there weren't too many other issues. But the carriage that Lu Qing and the others were riding had been specially made for the Wei family at great expense. Such road conditions were not a challenge for it. The carriage traveled along the official road, and gradually there were signs of habitation around. Elder Doctor, I just asked around. Up ahead is Qingfeng Town. Shall we go in? Ma Gu said. The elder doctor pondered for a moment and replied, Let's go in. We've consumed quite a bit of our supplies in the past few days and need to replenish them. In the Taoist temple, since Feng Tao and the others had lost their luggage, the food and drink for the past few days had been shared from Lu Qing's supplies. Therefore, the life necessities carried on the carriage were depleting quickly. Without replenishing them, it was feared that they wouldn't last for many days. Yes, Ma Gu responded, steering the carriage toward the town. Amidst the pitter-patter of the horses' hooves, it didn't take long for Ma Gu to see a town appearing ahead. Just as he was about to lash the whip and hurry the carriage forward, he saw several people ahead running toward him in panic, stumbling and glancing back as they came. Whoa! Seeing the carriage about to collide with the people, Ma Gu quickly pulled the reins tight and stopped the vehicle. He then barked at the few who were knocked to the ground. Are you out of your minds? Didn't you see the carriage here? Master, what's going on? Wei Zian poked his head out from inside. Nothing much, just a few ruffians not watching where they're going. Nearly ran into the horse, Ma Gu said irritably. Is everyone unharmed? Asked the elder doctor. Yes, I pulled the reins in time. They weren't touched. The elder doctor looked toward the people who had fallen to the ground and saw them panting heavily, drenched in sweat, with expressions of sheer panic. He thought they were scared by the near collision. Just as he was getting down to check, he saw them bounce up from the ground and run back in the direction they came from. One of them, as he ran, kept shouting back, Old folks, you should run too. There's a group of bad people in the town murdering and slashing at will. If you don't run now, I'm afraid you'll be in trouble too. People are killing indiscriminately in the town? The elder doctor's expression changed abruptly, and he quickly looked toward the town. Before he could see clearly, a cold voice echoed, You little wretch, where do you think you can run to? Your masters and fellow disciples have been captured. Do you think you alone can escape? If you kneel down and beg for mercy now, maybe I'll consider letting you suffer a little less. At the same moment, a figure was running from ahead, staggering awkwardly, a figure that Lu Qing and the others found quite familiar. It's Sister Zhao. Little Yan's eyes were sharp, and she was the first to recognize the person and called out. Lu Qing and the others had also recognized her. It was the woman named Zhao Qianlin, who was one of Feng Tao's disciples and had spent several days with them in the Taoist temple. However, in just over an hour since they had last seen her, Zhao Qianlin's appearance had drastically changed. Not only was her hair disheveled, but she also had several bloodstains on her body, her weapon was gone, and she was clutching her shoulder, running unsteadily. Behind her, there were more than a dozen figures chasing. The cold voice belonged to a middle-aged man in gray up front. Hearing little Yan's childlike voice from ahead, Zhao Qianlin looked up, initially overjoyed, but then remembering what her master had told her. Her face changed, she bit her lip, and darted into the woods by the roadside. You wretched girl! You're given an inch and you take a mile. The man in gray originally was enjoying the hunt, watching Zhao Qianlin's desperate attempts to escape. Seeing that not only did she ignore his words, but also was attempting to flee through the nearby woods, his facial expression suddenly darkened. He took a bow from someone nearby, drew it, and shot an arrow aiming straight for Zhao Qianlin's knee. The arrow's flight was quick and fierce. Although Zhao Qianlin heard the sound of its approach, she was already too drained to dodge. As the arrow was about to penetrate her knee, a look of despair appeared in Zhao Qianlin's eyes. Clang! However, at that moment, a crisp sound rang out. The arrow that was supposed to pierce Zhao Qianlin's knee was suddenly deflected by something unseen, veering off course and narrowly missing her leg before plunging into the ground nearby. "Who's there?" The man in gray saw his once sure shot thwarted. He immediately darkened in complexion, turning his gaze upon the carriage up front. Chapter 299, Ruthless Actions. Ma Gu takes charge. "Who are you people, daring to obstruct the affairs of the Flowing Cloud sect?" The man in gray fixed his gaze grimly on the carriage, his tone chilly. The man in gray was no fool. Although he hadn't seen how his own arrow had been deflected, there was no one else on this official road except for the carriage ahead. Moreover, he had clearly heard the little girl on the carriage call out, "Sister Zhao." Clearly, they were acquainted with the wretched girl in front of him. So as he questioned them, he also secretly gestured to his followers to slowly encircle them from the front. Lu Qing and the others naturally noticed the man in gray's subtle movements, but they were unconcerned. Ma Gu rushed to Zhao Qianlin, who had collapsed on the ground from exhaustion. "Miss Zhao, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Zhao Qianlin's face showed both relief from surviving danger and anxious concern. "Mr. Ma, you shouldn't have saved me. These are disciples of the Flowing Cloud sect who are after us. By saving me, you'll provoke their wrath. It's okay, you still have injuries. Let me help you over, and have my elder examine you first." Ma Gu was not panicked, simply helping Zhao Qianlin up and walking directly towards the carriage. Courting death. Seeing that the other party not only didn't respond but also dared to take the wretched girl away right in front of him, the man in gray was furious. Without a second word, he drew his bow again and shot an arrow straight at Ma Gu's back. Ding! Ma Gu did not move his body. One hand supported Zhao Qianlin, and with his other hand, he somehow drew his saber and deflected the arrow. Seeing Ma Gu so effortlessly deflect his own arrow, the man in gray's gaze sharpened. He could sense that Ma Gu's cultivation was not as high as his, merely at the muscle-bone realm. However, his saber technique was exquisite. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to so casually break his arrow technique. After deflecting the arrow, Ma Gu continued without stopping, helping Zhao Qianlin back to the carriage. "Elder Dr. Chun, Mr. Lu." Zhao Qianlin felt both grateful and ashamed. That morning when they had departed, they had confidently bid farewell, not expecting that in a blink of an eye, they would be rescued by the elder again. And this time they had even implicated the elder, who would now suffer the wrath of the Flowing Cloud sect. "Don't talk now. Let me check your injuries." The elder doctor stopped Zhao Qianlin's attempt to express thanks and began examining her wounds. After checking, he found 3 severe cuts from a blade on her body, one on the waist, another on the abdomen, and one on the shoulder, each deep enough to see the bone. It was truly remarkable that she had managed to run here without collapsing sooner. "First, take this medicine." The elder doctor placed a blood-replenishing elixir into Zhao Qianlin's mouth. Then he said to Little Yen, "Little Yen, help Sister Zhao inside, and dress her wounds with antiseptic medicine." Zhao Qianlin was a woman, and it was not appropriate for Lu Qing and the others to apply medicine to her. Fortunately, Little Yen had also learned quite a bit of medical knowledge from the elder doctor over the past 2 years, and she understood how to dress simple wounds. "Understood." Little Yen responded softly, moving forward to assist Zhao Qianlin. "Old Dr. Chan, it won't do. You should leave quickly. These people are incredibly cruel. Just now in the town, nearly half were killed by them. They are animals, even worse." Before Zhao Qianlin could finish speaking, the elder doctor interrupted her. "Are you saying the people in the town ahead were killed by them?" Zhao Qianlin said with grief and anger. "Yes. We arrived at the town this morning, intending to purchase some supplies, only to discover that these disciples from the Flowing Cloud sect were causing havoc in the town. Initially, our master was leading us to hide until they left. Unexpectedly, because a stall owner complained a few times, not only did they smash the whole stall, they also killed the stall owner's family, not even sparing the children. Senior brother Dashi couldn't stand by and immediately jumped out to fight them. Later, we couldn't withstand these villains, and they captured all our masters. I was the only one, under the final desperate fight by our master that opened a gap, who luckily escaped. Old Dr. Chun. These people are demons. Once they started killing, they began looting the town. Anyone who resisted was immediately chopped down. Extremely cruel. Listening to Zhao Qianlin's weeping complaint, the elder doctor's face also turned increasingly grim. Lu Qing, seeing this, knew that his master was truly angry. He immediately pushed his sister. Little Yen, you take Sister Zhao inside first to dress her wounds. Zhao Qianlin initially wanted to refuse, but upon meeting Lu Qing's gaze, she couldn't help but swallow her words and obediently followed little Yen into the carriage. Sir, is what Miss Zhao just said true? After Zhao Qianlin entered the carriage, the elder doctor looked towards the slowly approaching man in gray. So what if it is? The man in gray saw his subordinates surrounding them and the carriage had no route to escape, and he sneered. He had also noticed that this sudden appearance of the carriage contained only 4 or 5 people. Aside from the man who had just slashed his arrow, the others were not strong. The old man obviously did not need to be mentioned, as he had no Qi blood power at all. The remaining 3 were a little girl, another barely entered Qi blood realm, and the only capable one who had the strength of the muscle bone realm, carrying an iron staff. 2 in the muscle bone realm, and a few frail and ill ones, dared to meddle in the affairs of the Flowing Cloud sect. The man in gray's heart overflowed with a killing intent, and cruelty showed in his eyes. He was already thinking about how to torture these people. I've heard that the Flowing Cloud sect is a renowned great sect in Yunzhou. Why would you commit such cruel acts? Not only seizing people's wealth but also annihilating their families. Don't you think that's overboard? The elder doctor said sternly. Our Flowing Cloud sect does not need to explain our actions to others. The man in gray sneered repeatedly. Old fellow, since you also know our Flowing Cloud sect's reputation and still dare to obstruct us, I see you are really sick of living. Men, capture them. Don't kill them just yet. I want to properly torture them first before killing them. Yes, elder. The disciples from the Flowing Cloud sect who came along. Upon hearing this, all revealed cruel smiles, holding their weapons and rushing towards the carriage. Seeking death. Ma Gu, upon seeing this, glared with wide eyes, drew his war saber, and burst out with Qi blood power, stepping forward with a sweeping thousands of army saber strike. Boom! Under Ma Gu's full force, the power of the strike was fierce, instantly forcing back all the attacking disciples from the Flowing Cloud sect. With one strike forcing back a dozen men, Ma Gu felt a surge of pride, took another step forward, and slashed again. This strike, aimed directly at a retreating disciple of the Flowing Cloud sect with the force of splitting a mountain from top to bottom. The fierceness of the saber strike terrified the disciple from the Flowing Cloud sect, his courage breaking, and in his panic, he only managed to raise his weapon before his body shook violently, spitting blood, struck by Ma Gu even with the weapon in between. Resolving one opponent with one strike, Ma Gu did not pause. His body shot forward, aiming directly at the remaining disciples of the Flowing Cloud sect. Intending to take on more than a dozen disciples of the Flowing Cloud sect by himself. This scene, not only did it boil Wei Xian's blood upon watching, but even Zhao Qianlin, upon hearing the commotion and sticking her head out from the carriage curtains, was stunned as well. Chapter 300 Mountain and Sea Blade. Flee at first glance. On the Imperial Road, Ma Gu was engaged in heated battle, alone with his saber, against over a dozen disciples. Surprisingly, with his own saber technique, he forced the group of disciples into constant retreat. This scene not only made Wei Xian's blood boil, but also left Zhao Qianlin flabbergasted. She could never have imagined that this slightly lean figure, who during his days hiding from the rain at the Taoist temple, either chopped wood or tended to horses or kept to himself, possessed such formidable martial arts prowess. He was able to face over a dozen disciples from Flowing Cloud sect all by himself. One should note that among those disciples, several were of the same realm as Ma Gu, having also achieved great success in the muscle-bone realm. Yet under Ma Gu's saber technique, they seemingly couldn't withstand his attacks. It was incredible. Old Ma's mountain and sea saber technique is quite well practiced. It has a bit of Senior Wei's essence already. Given time, he may well reach the Grandmaster level. Lu Qing gave an approving look when he saw Ma Gu's saber technique. Ma Gu was currently using the mountain and sea blade, a technique taught to him by Wei Shanhai. It was a technique of Grandmaster level that Wei Shanhai himself had created and perfected before stepping into the innate realm by integrating all he had learned. As Wei Xian's master, Ma Gu had been living in a separate residence of the Wei family for the past 2 years, guiding and supervising Wei Xian's cultivation. Wei Shanhai often stayed in the residence for short periods, and upon seeing Ma Gu's diligence, would teach him his once famous saber technique on a whim, and he would occasionally offer him pointers. Sometimes, when Lu Qing saw Ma Gu practicing his saber skills, he would share his insights as well. Under the tutelage of these 2 Sword Dao Grandmasters, who had both grasped the sword intention, Ma Gu's saber technique had made leaps and bounds over the past 2 years. He was not too far from reaching the Grandmaster realm of the harmony of strength and gentleness, meticulous and profound as it was in saber skill. Because of this, he was able to fight back the group of over a dozen Flowing Cloud sect disciples with just himself and his blade. "Dr. Lu, let me help my master too?" Seeing his master look so formidable, Wei Xian, who was watching at the side, felt his blood surge and was itching to get involved. Lu Qing pondered for a moment. The Wei family had brought Wei Xian along precisely for this kind of experience. Now was undoubtedly a great opportunity. He nodded. "Go ahead, but be careful." "I know." With Lu Qing's permission, Wei Xian immediately became excited. Reaching behind, he pulled out 2 short sticks he had been carrying on his back, joined and twisted them with both hands, turning the 2 pieces of steel into one long staff. "Master, I'm here to help," Wei Xian called out as he leapt into the battlefield. His staff, swift as a shooting star, aimed for the head of a Flowing Cloud sect disciple wielding a sword. That disciple, initially seeing Wei Xian as just a young boy and underestimating him, showed a ruthless glint in his eyes upon the attack. Forcing out a flurry of sword shadows, instead of retreating, he advanced towards Wei Xian, intending to strike him down in one go and disturb Ma Gu's state of mind. He had heard quite clearly a moment ago, this youngster with the staff calling Ma Gu master. If he could kill him or even injure him, Ma Gu would surely be thrown into disarray. Then, his formidable blade technique would inevitably show a flaw. Despite this being Wei Xian's first true combat experience, he did not panic when facing the dazzling sword shadows of the enemy. With a laugh, he shook his iron staff slightly, and a sudden burst of staff shadows enveloped the sword-wielding disciple from Flowing Cloud sect. The overpowering force of the heavy staff technique instantly broke through the opposing sword shadows, followed by a continuous succession of strikes, with one blow landing squarely on the chest of the Flowing Cloud sect disciple. Wei Xian's iron staff, weighing dozens of pounds, combined with his powerful strength, was simply too much for the young disciple who had just entered the muscle-bone realm to handle. His chest caved in, he spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed limply on the ground. One breath stick technique. This revamped stick technique by Lu Qing had been completely handed down to Wei Xian after he stepped into the muscle-bone realm a year ago. Over the past year, he had cultivated it to a state of utmost proficiency. This was the first time he wielded it against enemies and, to his surprise, he had achieved a significant feat, slaying an opponent of the same realm. "Master, let's face the enemy together." With a successful strike boosting his confidence, Wei Xian called out and spurred his stick technique into action, twirling like a dancing dragon, pushing back several opponents in front of him to join forces with Ma Gu. "Good. Let's fight the enemy together." Ma Gu, seeing his disciple's valiant performance, was greatly delighted. He laughed loudly and once again swung his blade forward. With Wei Xian covering for him, Ma Gu no longer had to worry about his back. His saber technique became even more ferocious and within moments had injured 3 more disciples from the Flowing Cloud sect. Altogether, 5 disciples from the Flowing Cloud sect had fallen, leaving fewer than 10 able to fight. As strength ebbed and flowed, the united front by master and disciple Ma Gu became even more organized, pressuring the remaining disciples of the Flowing Cloud sect. This scene was a continuous surprise for Zhao Qianlin. She had never expected that on old Dr. Chen's side, not only was Ma Gu so formidable, but even the usually quiet and servant-like Wei Zian also possessed such astonishing strength. It was completely beyond her expectations. She remembered how she had just been persistently urging the elder doctor to flee, and her face burned with embarrassment. It turned out she was the one with a shallow understanding, having failed to see that the coachman and the servant by the elder doctor's side were, in fact, such high-level martial artists. No wonder their composure that day when her master mentioned they were being pursued by the Flowing Cloud sect. They had such a reliable force to count on. A bunch of useless trash. Seeing more than 10 disciples he had brought under suppression by 2 individuals on the opposite side, even suffering casualties, the man in gray's expression turned remarkably ugly. Inside, he was seething with rage. These 2, Ma Gu and Wei Zian, only showed muscle-bone realm cultivation. Even if they had formidable martial arts and techniques, among the more than 10 disciples he brought along, all were also muscle-bone realm martial artists. A few of them had cultivation no lesser than Ma Gu, having reached the great achievement of sinew and bone. Yet, under such a disparate comparison of strength, his own people failed to overcome the opposition. Instead, they were slain by the enemy. How could he maintain face? His face smeared with a ruthless look, the man in gray once again raised his bow and arrow. However, just as he was about to shoot Ma Gu and his disciple from the shadows, he suddenly felt an intense chill rise from his heart. The man in gray stiffened. Following the direction of the chilling sensation, he turned his head stiffly. There he met a pair of tranquil eyes. "If I were you, I'd choose to put down that bow and arrow," Lu Qing said indifferently. The man in gray stared at Lu Qing, the chill enveloping his entire body. At this moment, how could he not realize that Lu Qing, seemingly of low cultivation and harmless, was actually a terrifying being? Otherwise, he, a strong practitioner of the internal organ realm, would never tremble instinctively just from the other's gaze. He had hit a snag, although he did not understand why the seemingly young Lu Qing gave him such a terrifying feeling. The man in gray trusted his martial artist intuition, honed through countless trials and ordeals. The group before him wasn't simple passers-by that he originally thought could be easily squashed, but were instead disguised so as to consume the tiger, appearing weak yet concealing a fearsomely powerful existence. Escape. Realizing this, the man in gray made an immediate decision. He cast aside his disciples still in combat, wove a series of movements, and directly employed his movement technique to flee backward. He had chosen to flee without fighting.